各位嘉賓，我哋嘅研討會馬上就要開始啦，麻煩各位就座。各位嘉賓，歡迎大家嚟到恩象基金會主辦跨代共融頌揚 AI 時代的人際聯繫研討會。我係今日嘅司儀 G-May。今時今日，人工智能迅速發展，社交媒體深深影響住我哋每一個人。呢啲變化唔單止引起社會嘅焦慮，亦都令到我哋重新思考乜嘢先至係人類真正無可代替嘅價值。恩象基金會係2014年由陳寶利女士成立，自成立以嚟一直通過創新嘅跨代共融項目，建立長者同埋年輕人之間嘅聯繫同埋友誼。基金會尤其致力喺社區內嘅長者、機構同埋鄰近嘅學校，等到長幼定期互動交流，建立跨代嘅友誼，傳承文化同埋社會價值。基金會而家推動緊一項為期3年嘅大型倡議計劃，今日嘅研討會正係啟動呢個計劃嘅首項活動。今日我哋好榮幸，研討會有超過200位嚟自政府、學界、教育界、慈善界同埋前線社福機構嚟臨參與。我哋首先會以一場表演正式展開今日嘅研討會。呢場表演係由恩象銀齡口琴隊同埋香港國際學校樂隊 Music for the Elderly 攜手嘅參與。恩象銀齡口琴隊嘅成員係嚟自恩象基金會主辦香港賽馬會幸福跨代口琴樂嘅學生。雖然佢哋只係短短成立咗3個月，口琴隊積極咁演出，參加過喺學校社區唔同嘅音樂會。而 Music for the Elderly 呢，就係一個由學生主導嘅樂隊，致力透過音樂嘅經驗同長者建立有意義嘅關係。今日佢哋2支隊伍會跨越世代嘅界限，進行以下落嚟嘅表演。我哋而家以最烈熱嘅掌聲歡迎佢哋帶嚟我哋一首香港嘅經典歌曲《萬水千山總是情》。 我哋非常感謝口琴隊同埋香港國際學校嘅同學精彩演出，我哋再俾掌聲佢哋好冇？佢哋嘅音樂咧，令到我哋深深感受到跨代合作嘅力量同埋可能性。喺我哋演講之前咧，我想首先介紹一下有少少 housekeeping 嘅。咁大家咧喺熒光幕上面見到有3個 QR code 嘅。咁呢3個 QR code 咧，第一個最頂嗰個咧就係我哋今日嘅 program booklet 啦。咁大家而家都支持環保，咁我哋希望咧大家都可以運用到呢個 QR code 嚟喺個 program booklet 嘅。第二個咧就係一個我哋利用 AI 嘅翻譯，希望大家方便大家今日聽唔同嘅語言嘅講者演講嘅。咁而家呢一個系統咧都仲仍然係幾初階嘅，所以希望大家咧喺嗰個翻譯嗰個quality 上面咧見諒啦。咁最後咧就係我哋一個最後嘅feedback 嘅 form 啦。咁到最後希望大家咧亦都支持下，可以進行呢個 survey。好，我哋接住落嚟。有請恩象基金會創辦人陳寶莉女士，致歡迎詞。陳女士。
Good morning. On behalf of Mighty Oaks, I warmly welcome Mr. Ho Kai Ming, Under-Secretary of the Labour and Welfare Bureau, Dr. Raymond Chan of the Shaw Foundation, and all of you to this symposium. In his policy address yesterday, the Chief Executive positioned AI as a key driver of industrial transformation, aiming to make Hong Kong a global hub of AI innovation. Our theme for this symposium fits in well with this aim. With AI and digital storytelling on the rise, let's explore together how intergenerational practices can harness technology to provide new ways of connection and ensuring that progress remains human-centered. Today, I would like to explore 3 areas. The first, why generations should collaborate now. How Hong Kong's intergenerational movement has already begun. And what is Mighty Oaks' vision for change? So, why should generations collaborate now? Well, the reasons are both profound as well as pressing. Demographic shifts and dependency pressure. Hong Kong is a super-aged society. All of us know that. Fewer working adults supporting a growing elderly population. What does it equate? It equates economic strain and caregiving fatigue. Intergenerational engagement can help to reframe the caregiving role. Youth involved in caregiving, whether formally or informally, whether today or in the years to come, can begin to see their role as part of a much larger story of connection and legacy, shifting the narrative from burden to a bond. Second, rising ageism and social division. Ageism isolates. It erodes dignity, mental health, and community cohesion. But when generations come together, stereotypes dissolve. Respect grows. Intergenerational practice is a proven antidote, fostering mutual understanding and a shared purpose. Emotional and identity stress in youth. Our youth are growing up in a world fragmented by digital overload. Many feel disconnected, anxious, unsure of just who they are. Intergenerational relationships offer grounding, mentorship, emotional support, and a sense of belonging. You heard, I said earlier, Hong Kong's intergenerational movement has already begun. That's the good news. The bad news is that we face real challenges. Present today are government leaders, funders, social service practitioners, educators, academics, NGO representatives, attendees from across the GBA, and many Mighty Oaks supporters. You represent a vibrant cross-section of Hong Kong's intergenerational movement. But our efforts need more visibility, more support, and more sustainability. We face real challenges, funding gaps, siloed systems, and limited awareness. You will hear from the speakers today on all of these challenges, but also the good things that we're doing. Not now, but also in the future. So that's why we need your voice, your ideas, your commitment. So what is Mighty Oaks' vision for change? First, more community-based intergenerational learning. Imagine schools and elder care facilities working hand in hand, transforming age-segregated spaces into shared learning environments. Mighty Oaks has connected 139 elder care facilities with 81 schools. We help to strengthen non-familial connections, and we work particularly with primary school students. Our aim is that every elder care facility in Hong Kong partners with a nearby school for mutual growth, for mutual joy. Will you partner with us? Second, rethinking KPIs. Let's all encourage the Hong Kong government to include intergenerational impact in KPIs for elder care facilities and schools, instead of success being measured only by how well they serve their own age group. Will you help us advocate for this change? Third, staff and parent support, and many of us here are indeed educators as well as parents. We aim to produce more ready-to-use materials and training for intergenerational programs so that schools can adopt this efficiently to foster values education and emotional intelligence for youth. After meaningful intergenerational connections, youth often experience a profound shift in how they view older adults, moving from stereotypes to appreciation and from distance to empathy. Some parents already know this, but many still need to be convinced. Last, I would like for all of us to help to advocate for greater collaboration across the GBA. That's the Greater Bay Area. Going forward, we hope to facilitate more exchanges of knowledge and best practices with educators, social workers, policymakers, and innovators across the GBA to build successful intergenerational programs and models. Together, let's lend our voices to build cross-sector and cross-border partnerships to create fertile ground for collaboration. Let's explore practical solutions to preserve what makes us truly human: the inheritance of values, the sharing of stories, the forging of real-life bonds across generations. So, let's begin. Thank you.
好多謝陳寶利女士。接住落嚟，我哋好高興邀請到今日嘅貴賓勞工及福利局副局長何啟明先生上台為我哋致開幕致辭。有請何副局長。
陳寶利女士、Raymond， 各位我哋社福界嘅朋友，各位教育界嘅朋友，各位我哋嘅嘉賓，大家早晨。好高興今日可以出席呢個由恩象基金會舉辦嘅研討會。因為局長原本係佢嚟嘅，但係今朝咧，因為局長要陪阿特首去立法會嗰度開會啦，去講解施政報告，所以佢唔可以樓下缺咗席，所以唯有派我呢個喺樓上坐喺度聽嘅副局咧過嚟去代佢致歉之外咧，就希望同大家係傾下呢個相關嘅問題。大家可能都已經如果做社福界都知道咧，其實香港嘅人口老化確實係一個好嚴重嘅問題㗎啦。而家大家知道我哋香港有幾多張樂悠卡喺街㗎？你知唔知㗎？呢個竟然冇人聽過。我哋香港嘅樂悠卡係實名制㗎嘛，係每個人有張相喺度㗎嘛。你知已經喺早2個月已經跑200萬張喺街㗎啦，200萬張，60歲以上200萬張。咁所以咧我哋係，所以我哋嗰個問題咧，而家係一個海嘯嘅準備嚟。即係可以理解到咧，係之前日本咪試過1、2次海嘯嘅，可能升咗10 cm， 但係咧我諗呢個係10 cm 多啲啦，但係海嘯係未到。我哋個整體嗰個 Asian population 咧係會去到2046年咧，去更加去到幾多？去到三分之一係65歲以上。我哋去到最高峰嗰陣時咧，應該係講緊係有大概需要12萬個嘅資助嘅安老宿位。而家香港我哋起咗咁多年，只有6萬個啫。6至7萬個資助，所以嗰個嘅 gap 咧，嗰個嘅相距咧係好大。點樣可以？我哋點樣應對呢個嘅 Asian population 一個高齡嘅海嘯咧？其實啱啱寶利所講咧，呢個係啱嘅。我哋要做得更加多喺社區裏面做，因為我哋冇可能透過所有都係住喺安老院裏面咧，去處理我哋嘅高齡呢個問題。而我哋要喺個社區裏面做得更加多一啲咧，啱啱嗰4個 KPI 可唔可以縮翻出嚟？我想跟住去讀。其實我哋都係諗緊同一樣嘅嘢。啱啱你個 PowerPoint 嗰4個嘅最尾嗰4個點咧，其實我都啱啱影低咗。其實同我哋特區政府諗嘅一致。我哋係所以我哋係第一個應該係冇記錯，應該係 community 嘅一個嘅 learning 啊嘛，應該係。其實我哋咧對於老友記嘅學習咧，呢個係好緊要。尤其是對於啲新，如果你係講世代共融咧，更加要雙方面都要學習，唔單止後生嘅要學習一啲老友記嘅嘢，而係老人家都要學一啲新現代嘅一啲嘅新嘅技術。所以我哋咧有長者學院，都有好多嘅唔同嘅基金會，我知道贊助咗唔同嘅一啲嘅項目，對啱啱包括啱啱吹口琴都係一樣啦。所以我哋長者學院咧就係一個由政府去推啦。我哋而家大概有200個嘅長者學院，咁我哋提供咧大概15000個嘅學額。點喺內地通常長者學院叫做長者大學嘅，但係香港我哋就唔叫大學，知點解？因為香港我哋整體香港嗰個嘅，除咗香港突然係老咗好多之外咧，我哋係香港嗰個嘅老人家成個人口結構學歷比例咧，係呢20年係突然係變咗 讀咗書好多。如果講緊90年代咧，香港嗰個嘅老人家咧佔或者小學以下嘅學歷咧，大概佔咗40%。應該我冇記錯嗰陣時，整體小學到中學到大學咧，其實應該係433或者係唔記得532咁嘅比例。但去到呢一刻咧，我哋講嘅係244，即係得翻兩成，香港得翻兩成人咧 ，working population 咧係讀咗小學以下，然後咧中學有4成，大學有4成。所以如果你係大家嗰個嘅讀書個 background 差咁遠咧，其實我哋唔去互相去行前一步，去互相了解對方嘅了解嘅嘢，根本我哋冇辦法溝通埋一齊。不如而家你問一個小朋友，佢唔會聽得明咩叫萬水千山總是情係咪？係咪？我大家嘅仔或者孫應該，我個仔都應該未聽過應該。但係我哋呢個萬水千山總是情係一個跨代，即係我哋由我呢代或者以上嘅好耳熟能詳嘅歌，呢個肯定係事實啦。所以呢個咧係AI 嘅出現咧係可以幫到手，去令到大家互相之間可以拉近個 background。我唔知大家自己屋企有冇用緊一啲嘅智能音箱，我屋企有一個，所以我個仔咧每一餐食緊飯嗰時咧不斷喺度問緊嘢，唔係問我，問個 AI 音箱。例如尋晚佢問我世界乒聯頭20名嘅男子乒乓球員係邊個？咁 AI 音箱就會答佢係頭20個，咁第一個係黃彩欣，跟然後去20個係邊個？然後跟住頭20個嘅打法有咩特點？咁我唔識，我肯定唔識答啦。肯定，所以 AI 音箱會話俾你聽，唔知咩法國嗰個嘅勒布良係用沙直板嘅，跟住然後好旋嘅，呢個係佢 AI 會音箱答佢，所以佢會係有啲咁嘅嘢。而我外母佢有音箱咧，佢會問佢播歌啦，好簡單，可能就播一啲歌佢想聽嘅歌。所以啲 AI 呢個係最淺層嘅一個嘅應用，而去到深層之後咧，去到我哋啲 NGO 裏面係開始要用啦。點解我哋有咁多 big data？ 點樣可以做一啲 automatic 嘅一啲嘅聯繫？點樣令到我哋一啲去唔同嘅 AI 咧可以去數據可以揾埋一齊？呢個我哋同埋 NGO 一齊都做緊嘅。而特區政府我哋做緊咧，就係將醫管局同埋我哋嘅政府裏面社福機構有嘅資料，同埋房屋署咧，我哋3家係會串起。我哋呢刻我哋想做咧，係將一啲係有高危嘅照顧者，有呢刻會可能有出現危險，可能你係一個被照顧人士照顧者入咗醫院。被照顧人士咧就可能喺屋企咧就可能冇人照顧，我哋希望透過呢啲係自動化嘅配對咧，我哋可以揾到真人上門去探佢哋。咁所以咧呢個係AI 咧係會幫到手。點解仲未幫到我 point 出？我拉唔到咁多步，剩翻一個3個唔記得乜嘢嚟。所以呢個咧係呢個 AI 嘅時代嘅嚟臨咧，係會幫到手，係對於我哋呢啲提供更加多嘅服務去俾我哋嘅老人家。而呢個咧係唔會令到我哋社福界要嘅人手少咗，因為我哋會提供更加多唔同嘅新嘅服務出嚟俾佢哋咧，係可能更加個性化。所以我諗大家可能有啲主管喺度，希望都要同啲同工講，其實唔需要咁派一啲新 AI 嘅工具出嚟。例如你當年我哋可能有啲人會好驚會用手機影相啊，會冇咗攝影師啊，會冇咗個video 啊，影呢啲 video 嘅人，或者冇咗一個秘書，其實冇咧。你過咗10幾年，仍然需要一個影相，只不過幫你影埋個手機啫嘛，係咪先？所以咧係唔會令到做嘢嘅人少咗，而係咧會係多咗嘅個性化嘅服務去俾到我哋嘅老人家。去翻第4個 KPI。所以咧KPI 確實咧呢個我哋同我哋諗嘅一樣。我唔知應該唔係咩秘密嚟，應該我哋有啲嘅服務單位確實喺度 re-rank 緊佢哋嘅 KPI。尤其是可能比較少人用一啲嘅服務單位，可能而家大家知道小朋友少咗啦。點樣更加用好一啲原本俾青少年用嘅設施咧？我哋喺度真係喺度諗緊嘅。咁所以咧，希望如果大家呢個，所以我話大家諗嘅係一樣。所以我哋點樣善用呢啲地方去更好應對我哋而家新嘅人口結構咧？我哋係要我哋特區政府都行緊，又冇咗，睇完咗1秒鐘，夠咗1秒鐘。仲有一個第4個，仲有2個點係乜嘢？大灣區大灣區咧，我唔知大家有冇上2個禮拜去到深圳睇佢哋嘅樂齡科技展，有冇人去過？有係咪啊？我諗佢嗰個樂齡科技展同香港係真係有少少唔同。佢哋一個好 systematic 嘅一個用AI 或者用tech 嘅一個嘅做法。香港我哋當然我有 tech 個技術含量唔低嘅，但我哋係好有啲零散。呢個係我哋不能不面對嘅事實嚟。佢哋已經係因為佢深圳政府佢哋係用咗一個統一嘅平台，用鴻蒙 去一個 open 嘅項目咧，去做一個底座，去俾晒所有深圳嘅一啲嘅 software。咁所以咧佢哋已經開發到今年咧舊年去開始用俾錢去用鴻蒙，今年已經開始有啲巨新機械人啦，即係啲係用 AI 嘅一啲 robots。咁啊當然你唔可以期望佢好似打交好似好叻嗰啲，但反而係有啲用得着咧安老院嘅業界可以了解下按摩，係啊，好似按得幾舒服。咁啊有魏士成應該買咗幾部翻去，可以翻去了解下有啲咁嘅嘢。所以呢個咧係collaboration with GBA 呢個係好緊要，即係有啲嘢係香港係擅長，我哋嘅對於服務水平嘅釐定標準化係好擅長，但係對於係點樣可以用更加多嘅機械或者用更加多嘅AI 去幫手去達到我哋呢種嘅服務水平咧，香港係唔擅長，但係我哋係擅長嘅要求。所以咧呢個係反而內地擅長咧，點樣去提供 hardware 或者 software 幫你去做到咧？呢個係佢哋好擅長。所以點樣可以將兩邊去collaboration 都做得更加好咧？我諗呢個咧，我諗希望大家一齊可以幫手去諗下，都希望今日研討會咧可以做到更加多一啲有咩 staff and parent support， 呢個就係照顧者啦。我諗呢個就係對於一啲嘅大家對於令到我哋嘅工作嘅同事可以更加賦能俾佢哋。咁所以咧，我哋好多謝今日嘅研討會，我哋希望咧 AI 可以幫到大家手，係做到更加多嘅應對到我哋嘅人口老化嘅浪潮裏面咧。其實老友記有好多唔同嘅 need， 除咗一啲係照顧上嘅 need 咧，都有一啲係心靈上嘅 need， 都有唔同嘅一啲嘅需求喺度。咁希望咧AI 係我哋一個好好嘅幫手，希望大家咧度下叫點樣善用佢哋，呢個係十分之重要。咁希望咧大家可以係根據我哋因象基金會嘅4個 vision， 我哋係同特區政府一齊去做緊嘅。咁希望大家可以跟住呢4個 KPI 咧一齊去做咧，大家可以再度多啲新橋出嚟。多謝晒各位，多謝。
多謝何局長。我哋跟住落嚟咧就有一個啟動儀式嘅。咁我哋就而家同時間咧就攞緊一啲拼圖出嚟啦。咁我哋亦都想邀請我哋嘅主禮嘉賓上到台前嘅。首先係因象基金會創辦人陳寶莉女士，活動贊助機構邵氏基金會主席陳偉文博士，勞工及福利局副局長何啟明先生，因象基金會董事前黃碧君教授、陳麗生博士、李以東女士，場地贊助千禧新世界香港酒店總經理 Mr. Julian Whipper， 研討會主講嘉賓新加坡國立大學湯玲玲教授，長者嘅代表蔡楚先生，同埋學生嘅代表歐子瑜同學。喺呢個時刻咧，非常有意義嘅，象徵住我哋對跨代共融嘅承諾，希望能夠通過唔同嘅藝術媒介同埋互動，拉近唔同世代之間嘅距離。而家主講嘉賓面前有4塊嘅拼圖，呢啲拼圖代表住每一個世代之間嘅連結同埋合作。接住落嚟，我哋一齊將呢啲拼圖拍喺一齊，象徵住跨代共融嘅開始。準備好未？3、2、1，我哋將4塊拼圖連喺一齊。好，我哋嚟一張大合照先。我哋而家咧，希望喺台下嘅嘉賓亦都參加我哋呢張大合照喎。好。好，麻煩主禮嘉賓先落到台下邊就座，跟住我哋做一張全體嘅大合照。 好，當我哋啲拼圖砌翻好嘅時候咧，攝影師亦都準備好啦。OK， 大家準備好未？好，1、2、3，請望鏡頭，再影多幾張先。OK， 多謝大家。好，OK， 我哋而家到咗呢一個時間咧，我哋有一個細交流，互相認識一下。我哋亦都咧喺出外面咧準備咗一啲輕食同埋飲品嘅。咁同時間咧，我哋有一個小小嘅活動嘅，好似跟住係咪打一啲喺熒光幕上邊？我哋等緊咧個電腦 load 緊一個出咗嚟啦！喺我哋兩邊嘅熒光幕上邊咧，就有一個 QR code 嘅。如果大家 scan 入去之後咧，就會見到有個問題俾大家，希望大家可以咧參與。跟住我哋喺呢個 break 之後咧，就會同大家分享下各位揀咗啲乜嘢嘅活動。都想聽下大家嘅意見嘅。撈到啊嘛 ，OK good， 好，希望大家喺出邊傾偈同埋飲嘢嘅時候咧，亦都可以唔好唔記得參加呢一個 Mentimeter 嘅活動嘅。OK， 等陣見。 位嘉賓，我哋嘅講座馬上就要開始啦，麻煩大家請就座。不如我哋首先睇下剛才大家做咗一個選擇題嘅，係講希望見到邊一種跨代嘅活動多啲呢？同大家而家分享翻嗰個結果嘅。嗱，喺熒光幕兩邊嘅熒光幕上面呢，大家都會見到我哋究竟對邊一啲活動最有興趣？似乎都係藝術嘅活動比較受歡迎嘅，跟住就係一啲社區嘅探訪，同埋文化嘅交流。Okay, I just wanted to give the English audience a gentle reminder that we do have an AI translation service that you can make use of during the talks. And by scanning the QR code in the middle that says AI translation services. But apologies to the quality of the translation because it might not be perfect. Thank you. 好，我哋而家咧就進入今日嘅主講演講嘅環節。我哋好榮幸邀請到嚟自新加坡國立大學嘅湯玲玲教授，佢係一位社會文化人類學家，研究領域包括老齡化、跨代關係等等。佢嘅著作包括咗 Intergenerational Contact Zones， 亦係 Journal of Intergenerational Relationships 嘅聯合主編。佢將會為我哋帶嚟主題，讓我們走向跨世代，擁抱必要的連結嘅演講。請大家熱烈歡迎湯教授。
Dosan, good morning. I'm so thankful, especially to Miss Polly Tan, to Teresa Ken for your kind invitation for having me. I'm really very excited and humbled to learn so much about your programs and the great work that great intergenerational work that is happening in Hong Kong. In fact, in Singapore, we always look to Hong Kong when we want to do something on social services, even on intergenerational schools and so forth. Our colleagues would always come to Hong Kong to learn from you. So, and I'm also very excited with this title. I think it's really a very apt title. Very suitable for this age now that we have so much emphasis on AI. About a couple of years ago, I wrote some articles about robots. You know, we have, especially during the COVID time or sometime before that, there's actually quite a lot of emphasis on how robots can provide you with love and can be for you to hug and feel the touch. So I was a bit concerned about how robots, how effective can robots be, right, to become, for you, to replace humans. And I think at this era where we know AI is very important, we want to enhance the use of AI, but we have to be always mindful that we are not replacing AI with human connection. So it is really the time now for us to pay more attention to how do we connect across generations. So my outline today actually had a much longer slides that I kept cutting until this morning. So, so please let me know when it's almost time. I want to start with just very briefly on the necessity for connections, what kind of benefits impact, and to look at a more broader view in the international scene that we have been working on in intergenerational approach, and then to go down to a very specific case examples in Singapore for us to learn about each other's work, followed by some brief discussion on challenges and barriers. So I don't think I need to say a lot about why is it important, because Polly has really given a very good overview of the demographic challenges and so forth that is important for us to consider why we need to connect the generations. But I summarize, all the literature, the scholarship that talks about the kind of impact and benefits that there are for children, for seniors, and for the community as well. So if you look at for children, for example, things like, increase the self-esteem and self-worth, it's really a very good benefit of course, we have the same kind of benefits for older people when they get to engage with children or students. They also get to share about their wisdom and knowledge, which helps increase self-esteem and self-worth. And, a host of reasons here that I'm happy to share the slides if you need to. But for me, if you look at the picture here, what's most important is to see the smiles on the faces of the older people and the children. When you visit a nursing home or visit a senior care center, sometimes you feel sad because you look at the faces of older people who are, disengaged. But try to bring in a child, young person in to engage and just say hi, gong gong po po, it's going to bring a bright smile to them and a bright smile to the child as well. So in one of those programs here, the NTUC and the Singapore programs, where they have frequent interactions of the childcare children with the older people, the kids are always very excited to say, okay, we are going to visit our gong gong po po already. So one day, the childcare teacher asked one little girl, why are you always so excited? Is it because that, you don't have to learn it, you don't have to be staying here? And the little girl say, because I make gong gong and po po smile. So I brought a smile to their face. And I think that's very important. It's also a way for children to feel that they are important, they have a sense of self-worth, so that they can contribute as well. Another important thing I realized in my work and in interactions in this programming is that quite often students, especially secondary school students, high school students, and even university students, when they reflect upon their interaction with older people in the community, they always say, because it reminds me of my own grandparents, that I should, in fact, spend more time with my grandparents. I should also take the time to communicate with them and to know them better. So I think for me, there are a whole host of benefits, but what really touches my heart is really the smile, the opportunity for people to want to know more about their own grandparents. Okay, so this is, there are many good examples with evidence-based research that's happening. And this is one of those in the US that started from 1995, called Experience Core Mentoring, Intergenerational Mentoring Program, where they got the children, the senior adults mentored to children about primary 3 or 4 in reading program. And it shows that it promotes healthy longevity of older adults. It promotes academic achievements in young people and help them to succeed in life in the long run. So sometimes we have a lot of barriers, right, in terms of programs, and sometimes parents don't see the importance of it. But I think parents are very much into academic success. So if you tell them that's going to help your kids, I'm sure they will be very happy to have their kids involved. So there are quite a lot of literature on this experience course. So if you want to find out more, you can always check from the internet, check from the AI. Okay, so let me just move on to some of the broader sense of IG, what we call intergenerational approach. So first, the word intergenerational. Why do we use the word intergenerational? Inter has this meaning of in between. So it alludes to what takes place between the generations. And in that case, it's not just putting them side by side, but also connotes engagements that they can, because of the opportunity to be side by side, they can share skills, knowledge, expertise between them. So it is more about linking. How do we link the old and young generations? I think your PAC work on link ages is really very appropriate here. And originally, this whole intergenerational field, we call it intergenerational studies field, started with pioneers like Professor Sally Newman in the US. And when she first started this intergenerational programs idea, she had this idea of a duration of a 40 years gap. So it should be about 20 years and younger for young people, and then for 60 years and above for older people. But of course, nowadays we are much more flexible now, and I think young people can be really towards like 30s when they are starting their career. They also need guidance from older people in the career as well. So you could see intergenerational engagements at work as well. So there are quite a few definitions for intergenerational programs and practices. Here I flash out the one by Beth Johnson Foundation, one of the foundation in UK that works on intergenerational programs and practices. So here it says that when you how do you define IG programs and practices is to bring people together in purposeful, mutually beneficial activities which promote greater understanding and respect between generations and contribute to building a more cohesive community, building on positive resources. So I think the keyword is positive resources that the young and old have to offer each other and those around them. So it's not just about young people serving, or not just about older people receiving and serving, but about how, by putting them together, they learn from each other. That is mutual learning. So this perspective, we call it from the social capital perspective, and that's a whole range of theoretical ideas that are behind it. But I think it's what you're doing here is really social capital, enhancing social capital. So let me just introduce two frameworks here that relates to, if you want to do impact, you want to do measurements, impact, and so forth. That's some of the frameworks you can consider. So one of it is by Matt Kaplan on the depth of engagement. So it's easy to say, we measure and say, okay, how many people come together for this program? If you have 100 people, that's great. But what else besides that? What kind of measures we want to understand? What kind of impact it has? So Kaplan talks about the depth of engagement. How much depth we can help we can see in the engagements because of the programs, the practices that we have. So he had level 1 to 7. 1, 2, 3 is pretty much just seeing from afar. Maybe 3 is a little bit better off, at least you meet each other. 4, 5, 6 is more of the programming that we have. So I think Polly talks about how programming shouldn't be just one-off, but it should be more frequent, more regular. So from periodic activities, if you move on to more demonstration pilot projects, and not just, quite often we have funding and then we have projects, and then when the funding ends, the project ends, and then they don't get to meet each other anymore. But how do we make it ongoing? That it can be an ongoing part of life, part of your weekly activities for the older people and the younger persons. And then ultimately, if we are able to create intergenerational community settings, then actually there's no need for programs because it's already part of your life in the community. So if a school is an intergenerational school, then it's actually very much an intergenerational community setting. It has good potential for that. So another term that I kind of coined it when I was doing a study of playground in Singapore with exercise stations for older people. The intergenerational contact zones is the idea that, we always have programs, people come together, and then after the program is done, you just go back to your own place as if nothing has happened. How can we kind of, have a space, create spaces that become intergenerational, spaces that could expand and promote intergenerational contact? So in the schools, what are some of the intergenerational contact zones area that we can create? In the community, can playground together with older people, side by side with older people, exercises, equipment, become an intergenerational contact zone? So it's this idea about transforming from a mere space to a place. It's about also placemaking for across generations with relational meanings. Okay, so let me move on to Singapore as case example. And I had just an article out, so you could look at the article for more details, but today I just talk about some recent efforts. So we talk about the need for intergenerational community settings, the need for creation of an establishment, promotion, enhancement of intergenerational contact zones. And all of us in the field know that if you could have co-locations, if you could have shared sites of older and younger services, that would be an ideal scenario for ICZ, for intergenerational community creation. So in Singapore, I don't know if you have such kind of co-locations in Hong Kong. In Singapore, we have 2 now. The first one is St. Joseph Home with Infant and Child Care Center. St. Joseph Home is quite an old home. They had they rebuilt the place. And then when they rebuilt the place, they added a childcare and infant childcare center into their premise. So they are the first nursing home that has a co-location of a childcare service. And they are impressive because they really put in a lot of efforts to see how they could integrate programs. So they have art programs for both nursing home residents with dementia, with children, and so forth. And they have also documented this in publications. So if you look at their premise, for example, the dining room, they would have big tables for older people, and then they have small tables for children in the same place. So this is one example of ICZ. And also in their playground, they have big gardens, really very envious. A lot of providers are very envious of the land that they have. So they have big gardens, and they have their playground apparatus here. It's not just for children. Older people can actually wheel onto this playground with their wheelchair, and then rock together with the children. Okay. So the second one is the St. John St. Margaret Village that is in the western side of central western side of Singapore. They have a project Spring Winter, which is make them the first purpose-built facility for intergeneration. That means when they first built the facility, they already wanted it to be intergenerationally connected. They were launched in 2022, still COVID time, right? So it was a bad start in a sense because it was COVID. Then you already don't have, you don't get into that rhythm or momentum of meeting regularly. So there were very few activities, maybe once a week or so, with pet therapy and all that they come together with the children, but and only very few people from the nursing home who joined in. So last year, the Channel News Asia wanted to do a documentary of them to understand about how such kind of co-location and shared sites would help in connecting generations. So they actually panicked because there's not a lot of things happening, right? So I was involved with the whole filming, and we kind of come up with a 10-week programs. We selected 6 children, 6 seniors, and then we pair them up and look at how relationships could develop over the 10 weeks. Actually, we were very worried that, it may not happen and it will be a failure. But this is a program that is a 4-part series. So it was a 4-hour program. It turned out to be very heartwarming, actually, seeing how they naturally developed the kind of care for each other, and how parents were also very inspired by the development. So let me just, you can go on YouTube to see the 4 hours, but just let me show you just an introduction, a 1-minute video. Our idea is very simple. We selected 6 children and 6 seniors and matched them as new friends.
你喜欢吃什么 ？Ramen。
Okay, you sing then, let me hear.
Over the course of the 10 weeks, we want to see if these young children and seniors can really become good friends.
I love you.
Wow, so do I.
When they come together, they learn to respect each other for who they are.
It fosters a deeper understanding for the elderly and the children.
拍这个他们会来救。
Okay.
This is teaching the younger generation to love the elderly.
Uncle Thomas, I give you.
I think it doesn't really matter whether you're young or old, whether you are of different backgrounds. Invaluable friendships can manifest in the most unlikely places.
Yeah, so you can see how children are excited because they feel that they can help, they can contribute towards the whole mutual development and mutual learning that we can see when generations come together. Okay, so so there are actually a lot of ways. I mean, we do, of course, have children going to schools and programs and all that. But in the community, we are also starting to see developments where they are intentionally or very organically intergenerational. This is one example of a little library that was formed during COVID time. So, in Singapore, if you've been to Singapore, our public flats, public apartments have void decks below. That means the first floor is empty. People use it sometimes for funerals, for Malay weddings, and so forth. But in this old estate of 50 years already, so one fine day in the COVID time, one of the residents brought a little bookshelf and put on the void deck. And then that started a library that people could donate books and so forth. And then it turned into like a kampong space. Kampong means village in the Malay term, and before it becomes high-rise flats, people were living in kampongs and Singapore. So there's always this idea that, kampong, well, it's really romanticizing that kampong, is where intergenerational connections would take place very organically. So in this community library, which is a very open concept, there's no doors, so it's 24 hours. We do also see very organic, intentional or unintentional ways of bringing generations together in mutual learning and enjoying. So in NUS, in the university I'm in, I helped to start a university credit-bearing course that students can come in, take the course for credits, and the course is about promoting intergenerational bonding. So we brought the residents from the nearby community to come in and then have courses and have programs learning together with the children, students. So when the older people thought about, okay, what can I teach you? The students say, we want to learn how to play mahjong. So that was how mahjong was introduced into our campus. And then this is a Methodist Girls' School in Singapore. It's probably the only school that is so open in intergenerational, in creating the intergenerational contact zone. So they turned their computer room into intergenerational learning center. Okay, so that's really a good victory of, human contacts over computers. And they had a lot of programs that's, in fact, many of them are also initiated by the students themselves. The school has a pool, so they also have programs on aqua exercises, aqua aerobics, with older people from the community to join in with the students. And I'm starting to do research in the center, so I hope to tell you more in the next 1 or 2. Okay, in policy in Singapore, a lot of things are actually quite, we look at the government to see what can be done, what can you offer, support us in. So I would say that we start to see this growing intergenerational policy since 2015, when the policy for aging population turned towards a community for all ages. So in 2015 in Singapore, we launched the Action Plan for Successful Aging Framework. And then in 2023, we have a refreshed version of this framework. So in the 2015 plan, there were 3 themes: the opportunities for all ages, kampong for all ages, and then cities for all ages. So naturally, this second segment on kampong for all ages has this theme of cohesive home and intergenerational harmony, where they wanted to have co-locations of age and children's services, because we all know that co-location is one of the best ways for more connections. So apparently 13 co-locations were built. I'm still yet to find out where are all the 13, but some of them I feel that I think from the existing co-locations that I saw, I found that there's actually not enough knowledge from the architects or the planners in terms of what co-location should be. How do you think about promoting intergenerational connections with that co-location? So there's one that has the active aging centers door on one side, and then the back side is the children. So in fact, the children and the elderly never meet because they go to different entrances and they come in from different places. And then there's one, the first one in the Kampong Admiralty was like, when you get out of the lift, the left side is the elder care, the right side is the children's center, the children's services, and the children's services is all locked up, so you can't see children from outside, which I thought is such a pity. We are so close to each other. We should do more for more unintentional, for chance meetings and relationship building. So in 2023, there was a change in the term. So we call it 3 C's of care and contribution and connections. And we see more of intergenerational connections being emphasized in contributions, in how older people can contribute to the family, to the community, to the younger generation and to connections. For example, this one on top, it talks about forging intergenerational connections. Here with example of the mentoring program. So this is the RSVP mentoring program, the Retired Senior Volunteers Program that has been in service since 1998. So they collaborated with schools for after-school programs, serving now 35 primary schools. So in fact, there are a lot of encouraging examples. I'm sure you have a lot of encouraging examples in Hong Kong as well, that there are actually plenty of barriers as well. So for example, older adults themselves, over the age, they could become frail. How do you engage them continuously? Even in frailty, it's something, because it's always easier to say, okay, no, we don't have to engage the older, frail ones, but I think they can also contribute to the development in the programs. And then young people, sometimes we do have, young people, I mean, as we know, young people are so busy, right? We need to really have time to engage them. And also in Singapore, we have language problems. Our older people may speak dialects, Cantonese, Hokkien, that our young people cannot communicate with as well. So there are some programs, that to teach young people how to speak dialects. And then also parents. Sometimes parents are really the herder, because parents always think about, whether that is that older people are full of disease, for example, and they say they don't want their children to be close to them. In fact, it is the children that bring disease to the older people, because older people, if they're in institution, they won't go out, so they will be safe. But it's the children that go out and then they get the disease from their brothers, sisters, and then they come back and pass to the older people. So, and then staff also, I think Polly talks a lot about the training, and it's really training that's needed for staff to not see that this is extra work, but to be more creative, to see how they can integrate it together with what they're doing in existing work. So if children are learning numerics, learning how to count, learning how to read, can't they do it together with the older people? Can't the older people be the ones that are also teaching them, reading stories to them? So, and then institution. We all, government, our government is fantastic. They want to do something. But the fact is, the things are siloed. Childcare services don't see that as their KPI. Older services don't see that as, something that they need to cater to. They don't have to, they don't see that, okay, in the centers, when I build nursing home, how can I have some places for intergenerational connections? So we need also for more flexibility. And then the environment, I talk about how, we need to also educate architects and planners for a better design for the intergenerational connections. So the solution is really to think intergenerational, to think integrating and not segregating, and how we can further advance depth of engagements with sensitivity in intergenerational contact zones making. So it is about intergenerational connections that is a necessity in life. It's not just being nice. Quite often it becomes like, oh, it's being nice to have, but we have to be really clear that it is necessary, because all of us, we don't want to grow up in a world that is so segregated that, there's so much tensions between the old and the young. We have to build a society that we can enhance on the robots and the AIs to make our connections with the human more robust and more heartwarming. Thank you very much.
好多謝湯教授。跟住落嚟，我哋進入今日嘅小組討論環節。我哋嘅第一個主題係從孤立到協同，重塑社會服務，建設更強大、更具同理心嘅社會。我哋好高興邀請到香港恒生大學社會科學系客席教授錢黃碧君女士為我哋主持呢個環節。 我哋有請錢教授。有份參與呢個小組環節嘅嘉賓包括救世軍社會服務總監陳小麗女士、香港仔坊會經理林子瓊女士，同埋恩象基金會項目主管黃怡珊女士。
各位朋友，大家早晨！再一次歡迎大家嚟到我哋今日恩象基金會嘅第一次搞嘅 Intergenerational Symposium。咁好歡迎大家，同埋好多謝大家今日嘅出席啦。大家對今日以上嘅活動覺得 OK 嘛？好好啊，多謝晒先嚇。咁啊〜好啦，而家嚟到而家呢個環節咧，我哋將會有3個 panel discussion。咁第一個 discussion 咧就係請到 NGO 嘅代表嚟講下佢哋機構入邊嘅 intergenerational 嘅一啲以往嘅活動啦。咁第二個 panel 咧就會係請到我哋學校嘅代表嚟講下學校入邊又點樣做咧。第三個 panel 咧就會請到我哋基金會嘅代表都嚟分享下佢哋點樣支持呢一個活動。咁首先咧，我哋呢個 panel 咧就係講嘅 NGO 嘅服務嘅。咁大家都知道啦，我哋傳統嘅 NGO 咧以前嘅服務都係好單一嘅。即譬如話我哋做長者服務，咁我哋就淨係做長者服務；青少年服務就青少年服務。但係其實長者同埋青少年都係我哋社會家庭嘅一份子嚟嘅，即係佢哋係唔能夠分割嘅。而佢哋之間嘅互動咧，佢哋之間嘅佢都係我哋嘅社會嘅 social capital。咁所以佢哋嘅互動咧係能夠帶嚟更好嘅效果，係1+1係多過2嘅，一定係。咁所以咧，今日我哋係好榮幸能夠請到3位唔同機構嘅代表嚟同我哋分享。點解要特別請呢3間嘅機構呢？我哋係諗咗好耐嘅。第一間呢，就係救世軍。救世軍大家都知道啦，係一個全港性好多元化服務嘅機構。佢哋有青少年服務啊、長者服務啊、家庭服務啊、社區服務啊，同埋佢哋係有好多唔同嘅活動啦。但係佢哋亦都有一個跨代嘅活動，而呢個跨代嘅活動呢，就係講緊係跨家庭嘅活動，呢個係佢哋嘅特色嚟嘅。而第二個機構呢，就係香港仔坊會啦。香港仔坊會呢，佢係一個地區性，即係主要喺南區服務啦。咁亦都有青少年啊、長者啊同埋社區嘅發展服務嘅。而佢哋嘅特色呢，就係佢哋嘅跨代咧，係同一個家庭嘅服務嘅。第3個機構咧就係恩象基金會，咁我哋係一個好新嘅組織嚟嘅。咁我哋嘅特色咧就係我哋自己冇特別嘅場地，所以咧我哋都係善用翻長者機構嘅場地同埋學校嘅場地。而我哋咧主要咧就係希望喺同一區入邊聯繫咗長者機構同埋學校，就係讓當地佢哋嘅小朋友同埋長者咧係有好多唔同嘅跨代嘅活動。咁今日咧就係好榮幸請到3位機構嘅代表啦，佢哋分享下佢哋各自機構嘅理念嘅特色、困難同埋一啲解決嘅方法。咁首先咧，我就想請救世軍社會服務總監陳小麗女士，係佢哋每一個人都有8分鐘至10分鐘嘅介紹佢哋自己嘅機構嘅。
各位朋友大家好，咁好多熟悉嘅面孔都喺度吓，咁好開心。本身坐喺度嘅朋友都好 inter 係咪啊？彼此 between 緊嘅。 咁咧，我簡單咧係去講一講救世軍啦。救世軍本身係一個國際基督教嘅組織，咁我哋喺全球134個國家同埋地域咧都有服務。而喺香港咧，我哋啱啱咧就踏入第95週年嚇，咁而社會服務咧，我哋係超過80個單位嘅。咁咧嗱，今日咧，我好想同大家分享下咧，我哋喺竹園綜合服務嘅經驗。咁我用頭幾張嘅 PowerPoint 同你哋講下少少背景，好唔好啊？咁咧，我哋救世軍咧，我哋行群組制嘅。咁咧喺竹園綜合服務入邊咧，其實我哋有4個服務。第一個咧就係竹園青少年中心啦，咁服務嘅對象係6至24歲，同埋佢嘅照顧者嘅。好啦，第二個服務咧就係竹園長者中心，佢嘅服務對象咧就係60歲或以上，同埋佢嘅護老者嘅。好啦，咁第三間咧就係咧竹園長者日間護理中心，咁咧服務60歲嘅長者同佢嘅護老者。咁最後一個咧平田兒童之家咧遠少少喺平田嗰邊嘅，咁但係都喺呢個群組。我哋呢個群組咧其實咧有一個好清晰嘅主題嘅，我哋其實超過20年咧都係用呢個主題。咁咧就係家庭為基，社區為本，跨代共融。好啦，微觀啲睇下黃大仙區一啲人口結構。黃大仙區都係個老區嚟嘅，長者人口咧 24.5%， 高於全港嗰個平均值嘅。少年人口咧 8.5%， 低於全港嗰個數據嘅平均值嘅。好啦，中位數50係高於咧平均全港嗰個係46嘅。好啦，大家攞到個印象就係一個相對老啲嘅區域啦，青少年人口亦相對少啲啦。好啦，再微觀落去啦，我哋咧有一間青少年中心啊，喺竹園入邊，我哋有啲咩嘢設施呢？我哋有19間大大小小嘅活動室，10.7位職員。好啦，我哋中心開放嘅時間呢，其實呢集中多啲係喺下晝同夜晚嘅。嗱，如果大家呢好熟悉香港而家返學嘅時間呢，其實大部分學生放完學，全日制嘅學生可能仲要去補習啦，仲要學嘢啦。其實呢，我哋啲中心呢，好多時係3點半或4點後呢，先至陸續呢有啲青少年兒童嚟到嘅。好啦，又去微觀睇下長者中心啦。我哋呢長者嘅呢個鄰舍中心呢，5個活動室，11.25位嘅職員。我去翻頭先，青少年中心有19個活動室。係咪啊？佢服務緊嘅服務人口咧，會員咧有1000幾個，1500個，個案咧大概180個。長者頭先講咗啦，活動室嘅數目少，咁咧，但係咧佢服務嘅會員都1000幾人嘅，佢服務嘅個案咧都160人嘅。好啦，我今日想分享咩咧？今日我想同大家分享一個比較宏觀啲服務策劃規劃上邊點樣可以推動到跨代共融。咁咧，我哋咧其實2間中心咧係好有幸係同一座大廈嘅同一個社區中心入邊上下嘅樓層，所以咧我哋咧喺23年前咧，我哋已經決定咗咧將2個服務結合一齊運作。嗱，但我哋咧攞政府嘅資源係2個分別嘅服務嚟嘅，但我哋咧內部我哋將佢結合一齊運作。咩叫做結合呢？第一，房間使用上面我哋係結合一齊用嘅，即使係19+5嘅地方可以共用嘅，同埋咧上晝下晝4點前嘅時間可以共用嘅。好啦，人力資源呢，我哋係一齊嘅。我哋有分2條 team， 有啲同事主力做長者，有啲同事主力到做多啲青少年。但係原則上呢，我哋呢亦都有彼此互通嘅時間。譬如我哋簡單 job in service， 我哋嘅 counter 其實無論青少年或者長者服務呢都一齊，所以人力呢亦都係10.7加11.25可以一齊用。好啦，嘔吐服務。嘔吐服務咧，我哋咧因為2個服務一齊嘛，所以地方係大好多。 如果咧大家咧喺平日嘅時間去到咧，你會見到一個我覺得係好共融嘅一個環境，因為咧喺嗰個 drop in area 咧，有一啲長者咧就一齊喺度玩緊 Rummikub 啦，或者玩緊一 board game 啦。咁有一啲嘅兒童或者青少年咧，可能可以係玩緊 board game 嘅，或者玩緊遊戲機嘅。我好多時去到咧，我有時見到咧啲長者同埋小朋友互動噶，好似認識咁噶。經過可能嗱冇頭先阿玲玲講咧 I love you 咁 sweet， 但係咧佢哋咧會喺度傾偈噶，咁即是話咧佢日常地已經係一個共融嘅平台俾佢哋可以互動。咁當然啦，喺小組同活動上面，因為我哋咧結合一齊做，所以咧本身咧我哋服務嘅同事咧每季、每年、每月咧都有好多大與小嘅一啲共融嘅小組啦、活動啦，同埋相處嘅時間。喺我哋咧 job in 出邊咧，我哋其實咧有一個小花圃，其實咧係走廊嚟嘅，講到好似好靚咁係咪？小花圃其實係走廊，不過我哋嘅走廊咧係有擺咗好多咧，由我哋長者啦，有啲係家長啦，有啲青少年兒童一齊種嘅花植，佢哋得閒咧又會去淋下花嘅。咁所以咧小組活動上邊咧，大家我諗好熟悉，因為我知道好多機構咧辦緊好多好好嘅跨代活動。好啦，我想落到去咧講個案管理上面。嗱，其實我哋呢兩間咧都係一啲我哋叫 community service。社區服務，我哋咧係比較多一啲活動小組為本，但係咧個案，如果我哋見到好有需要，我哋都會做。我哋係以家庭為基嘅，以家庭為基。我哋試過咧，我分享好少。我哋咧試過咧有個長者喺度參加開活動嘅，跟住同我哋傾開偈，佢話：我有個孫啲功課咧搞唔掂，可唔可以幫下手啊？咁樣。可以，咪帶佢落嚟中心咯，帶佢嚟中心，我哋咁講中心，有嚟中心，好啦，佢個孫咧開始我哋中心咧功夫班啦、補習啦、活動啦、玩啦、傾偈啦，慢慢咧個孫大個成長，而家咧其實近20歲，19歲到啦。有一日咧，我哋見到佢咧好攰啊，即係近排見到佢好攰，問下佢做乜，原來咧佢咧開始幫手。要照顧佢嘅祖父母，因為咧佢嘅父母咧都係有困難，咁所以咧我哋咧係整體上咧係去做個案管理，諮詢服務都係啦，因為一齊做啊嘛。其實啲街坊佢唔理噶，咩人都咧會落嚟咧我有啲咩需要。好啦，我想分享呢一幅圖，我覺得咧好好啊。阿莊教授喺度，我特別想同佢分享。我哋嘅青少年服務6至24歲。長者服務60歲以上，但係大家記得我頭先分享就係兩邊嘅對象嘅照顧者我哋都做，所以咧中間一個波波係非常之重要。25至29歲嘅照顧者喺我哋入邊咧，我哋 take care 埋，因為我哋行家庭為基，所以咧呢一個咧我哋咧慢慢可以去諗下，其實係咪一啲綜合服務模式？加埋其實唔止係長青長幼共融嘅基地，亦都可以咧有埋一班照顧者喺度嘅基地。一個咧 community base 嘅服務係可以做到一個咧 delabeling 嘅作用嘅。下一張可以俾大家睇啦。喺橙色嗰個框框入邊就係一門多通，你係咩對象入到嚟，我都可以轉介去隔離去 team。第二，去標籤化。第三咧就係可以及早識別，同埋咧一個跨歲嘅一個嘅地區嘅網絡結連。好啦，最後一張用多1分鐘時間，有啲咩嘢我哋可以反思呢？第一個層面最高嗰個 box， 建立地區策略夥伴。其實而家我哋好多時會 NGO 會借地方啦，但係咧我更欣賞咧，其實印象做得好好就係佢哋嗰種嘅結連唔係 one off 嘅，佢講緊長期嘅策略夥伴嘅結連。所以第一個俾大家思考，無論你係學校好係 NGO 好咧，可唔可以咧喺區入邊揾到你一個長遠啲嘅策略夥伴，定期借場，定期有一個共用嘅 job in area。定期咧搞跨代嘅小組同活動， 好啦，第二嗰個我略略講啦，就係咧我哋 NGO 咧要做一啲FSA 嘅喺呢度上面，如果我哋做跨代，可唔可以咧將個 FSA 擺埋落去我哋嘅即係要交俾政府嘅數上面咧？最後個波所最想去分享嘅未來，頭先阿玲玲都有講點樣去製造一個 intergenerational 嘅 community settings， 點樣可以有個 co-location 咧？而家有好多新發展嘅地方，係咪啊？大東北、大西北嗰度好多嘅地方，其實會唔會可以諗下一個推動一個綜合服務嘅模式呢？第二，如果喺一啲咧人口老化嘅區域上面，我哋可唔可以做一啲服務嘅轉型呢？某一啲嘅中心，某啲譬如可能你 community centre 係咪可以用多啲綜合式啲嘅形式？做埋照顧者添呢？一啲可能青少年中心、兒童中心係咪可以有啲 pilot 做轉型呢？好啦，咁最後我想分享個 take away 嘅反思就係一個綜合服務中心嘅模式，長者中心加青少年中心其實等於跨代綜合嘅平台，亦都可以咧同步做埋照顧者嘅支援。好多謝大家，
多謝晒小麗。好精彩嘅分享啊！其實你哋真係好前衛啊！即係好多年前咧已經善用你哋即係唔同嘅服務嘅單位啦，咁啊可以將長幼呢個服務擺埋一齊。咁亦都係頭先即係 Professor Ling 講嘅，即係佢好多喺 Kaplan 入邊嗰個 engagement 嗰個 scale 入邊嘅最高嗰個層次啦，就係用地點咧將兩清嘅活動咧係帶埋一齊。咁呢個係即係譬如亦都係能夠喺日常嘅生活嘅活動入邊啦，可以令到佢哋可以能夠多啲嘅共用。咁頭先你都講咗好多啊，好好嘅即係建議啊，將點樣將 FSA 加入去啊，同埋亦都係喺長幼嘅活動入邊咧，點樣能夠將護老者都帶入去我哋呢一個 scenario 入邊。好多謝晒你啊，各位。跟住第二位嘅講者咧，就係香港仔坊會嘅經理林子瓊女士，Linda。咁啊，請阿 Linda 咧就係都同我哋分享。好，我哋歡迎 Linda。
好，大家好啊！咁我嚟自香港仔坊會啦。咁今日咧非常之開心咧，可以有呢個機會咧，同大家分享一下咧，我哋坊會啦喺推廣呢個代際服務上面嘅少少嘅經驗啦，咁樣。好，咁呢一度咧，即係發展，即係點解個需要咧？咁頭先 Polly 講得好好啦，我唔再重複啦，即係個需要性啦。咁 benefit 上面咧，阿玲玲教授又分享到好詳細，即係代際服務其實對唔同年代嘅人咧，其實可以帶嚟啲咩嘅 benefit。咁我唔詳細講啦，因為我諗玲玲教授嗰個比我全面好多啦。不過我想補充一樣嘢就係咧，我哋喺我哋嘅實戰經驗入邊啦，我哋呢10幾年入邊，咁我哋推展唔同嘅一啲跨代嘅服務啦。咁我哋喺大約10年前啦，都同 Hong Kong U 咧去合作。咁我哋一路推代際服務嘅時候，咁佢就幫我哋做一啲研究啦，睇下其實到底唔同年齡層嘅人擺埋一齊，係經歷一連串嘅活動之後，其實係咪真係有呢一啲嘅 benefit 出現咗咧？咁樣，咁頭先玲玲教授都講咗啦，其實咩為之代際服務？其實就係咧，你完咗個活動，其實你係咪對唔同年齡層嗰個觀感嗰個了解，其實係增進咗咧，有一個正面嘅轉變咧？可以加強個跨代嘅連結咧，咁呢一個先係真正嘅一個代際服務啦。咁所以我哋自己嘅一個實際嘅經驗去話俾我哋聽，原來真係嘅，即係當你個代際服務設計得好啦，咁其實係真係可以帶嚟呢一啲嘅 benefit 嘅，無論係對唔同年代嘅參加者都係長遠啦，即係佢或者係參加完個活動，佢可以嗰個心理健康啦有所提升啦，長者啦個生活質素啦係有所提升嘅。咁我一陣間會再分享多少少。好，咁坊會咧其實早喺大約2009年啦，當時我哋已經意識到咧推展呢個代際服務嗰個需要嘅。咁嗰陣時我哋就 未有我陣間會講個代際服務中心之前咧，咁我哋就係機構每一年都會制定一啲年度主題。咁喺2009年至2013年咧，呢幾年期間咧，我哋係採取咗跨代共融咧作為我哋機構嘅年度主題。咁我哋唔同嘅服務單位啦，就會去配合呢個主題咧，去推展唔同嘅代際嘅跨代共融嘅活動嘅。咁直至2012年啦，咁我哋就成立咗當時啦，係全港第一間代際服務中心啦，叫上容坊臨基業中心啦。咁呢一間中心咧，我哋嘅人力啦，我哋嘅資源啦，我哋嘅場地咧，都係用即係擺喺呢一個推廣呢個跨代共融呢一個服務上邊嘅。係啦，咁我哋都好多謝賽馬會慈善信託基金一路都捐助我哋去推行唔同嘅代際服務嘅。咁所以我哋呢一間上容坊中心啦，我哋有3個大嘅角色啦。咁除咗我哋去推展唔同嘅代際嘅活動之外，咁我哋都會做一啲社區教育。咁頭先大家都講啦，香港係一個超高齡社會啦，好多長者啦。咁難免咧就會可能對其他年代可能嘅人士啦，會覺得哇好多長者喎，即係攞咗好多社會嘅資源啦。長者可能又氹氣啦，又固執啦，又成可能一啲負面嘅標籤嘅。咁所以我哋都會好努力去做一啲社區教育，希望咧社會上唔同年齡層嘅人士啦，可以對佢哋多啲嘅了解，多啲嘅體諒啦，咁社會都會和諧啲啦。咁第3個角色咧，我哋都好努力啦，將我哋嘅經驗啦，去同我哋內部單位嘅同事啦，甚至乎業界嘅同事去分享嘅。咁呢3個計劃咧，就係我哋自從2012年咧開展咗上容坊中心嘅時候咧，推展過嘅一啲服務計劃嘅。咁我哋咧個 approach 係點咧？我哋係頭先即係 Teresa 都講過啦，我哋最近呢6年做緊一啲3代家庭嘅。其實我哋一開始咧都係做緊一啲冇血緣關係嘅2代人啦，或者3代人嘅之間嘅共融。咁頭先我都記得，唔知大家有冇記得Professor 玲玲佢嗰個跨代服務嘅好處咧？佢 highlight 咗一個 point 嘅，就係原來咧我哋做緊一啲冇血緣關係嘅唔同年齡層之間嘅共融咧，其實呢一個咧好處會帶翻嚟屋企嘅喎。即係原來我喺出邊咧，同一啲公公婆婆相處過，原來覺得屋企嘅爺爺嫲嫲咧，即係都冇咁煩喎，冇咁即係對佢哋了解多咗，其實個包容又大咗喎。咁所以我哋咧推展咗唔同嘅呢一代際服務計劃之後咧，最近6年咧，我哋就開展咗一個咧3代家庭嘅計劃，做一個3代家庭成員嘅一個共融嘅。咁呢啲就係一啲例子啦，即係我哋做過嘅咩類型嘅一個代際服務嘅活動咧。咁我哋有4個大類別嘅，咁就係一個社區教育啦，一個代際嘅義工服務啦，同埋咧代際嘅學習啦，同埋文化嘅傳承。即係呢一啲都係唔同嘅一個 means 啦，即係去將唔同年代嘅人咧去聯繫一齊嘅。咁首先我會講下呢一個我哋嘅社區教育活動。咁呢個自從我哋可能10幾年前啦，我哋當時有馬會嘅資助，咁我哋發展咗呢一個月時空之旅啦。咁係一個社區教育嘅活動，我哋至今咧都係做緊嘅。咁都有唔同嘅好多學校團體啦。中小學、大學啦，或者 NGO 咧，都會invite我哋咧去舉辦呢一個月時空之旅嘅。咁呢個活動咧，其實我哋會令到參加者唔同年齡嘅參加者啦，佢哋去着上一啲裝備，親身去體會下，咦，身體開始咧退化咯，其實會遇見啲乜嘢嘅身體啦、心理上面嘅一啲挑戰啦。咁我哋希望咧參加者可以咧對長者咧個同理心可以增加啦，即係可以。呢個同理心嘅增加咧，其實係第一步嘅啫。我哋都希望佢哋咧可以多啲理解之後咧，可以思考其實喺日常生活入邊，其實我哋可以點樣做多一步去幫身邊嘅一啲有需要嘅長者咧咁。所以呢一個活動我哋至今仲做緊嘅。咁另外一啲代際嘅義工啦，咁我諗一陣間咧，印象佢哋可能都會分享好多唔同嘅代際嘅活動啦，咁我都唔會詳細講嘅。咁代際嘅義工咧，我哋都好多唔同嘅活動，即係一個年齡層可能去貢獻佢自己嘅所長，去協助另外一個年齡層。咁我諗呢個都係一個好 common 嘅代際活動嘅一個 approach 啦咁。咁我哋有一個叫教得樂嘅活動啦，即係教就係教功課啦，德咧就係品德嘅培育，樂咧就係2代人之間嗰個相處係啦。咁我哋即係呢個活動，我哋現時都係做緊嘅。咁第3代際學習啦， 最尾一啲文化傳承嘅活動嘅，我哋都會咧係即係一啲譬如我哋南區漁民文化係好強啦，係咪？咁我哋都會招一啲唔同年齡層嘅人一齊去推廣傳承呢一個文化。好，咁最後咧，即係呢一個3代家添愛計劃啦，就係我哋近6年咧做緊。我諗咧，在座唔知有冇一啲人咧係認識屋企有長者協助湊孫嘅一啲3代家庭。如果你有接觸呢類型家庭，或者你自己身處於呢啲家庭，你都會知道一個好 common 嘅挑戰就係，如果祖父母同父母一齊要協助咧照顧小朋友，好難免會可能有一啲分歧啦，甚至衝突去產生嘅，咁影響家庭嘅和諧。咁我哋咧呢幾年就做緊咧3代嘅共融，即係我哋會做一啲2代共親職嘅一個協調啦。咁我哋會做祖孫啦，3代人一齊參與嘅一啲活動啦，咁去加強咧3代個連結嘅。好，咁最後咧就同大家分享下，我哋喺推展代際服務嘅時候咧，其實都有一啲嘅刊物出咗啊，咁去幫我哋去推廣呢個跨代共融嘅。咁首先就係一啲跨代嘅一啲代際嘅故事書啦。咁我哋嘅長者義工咧會幫我哋咧去學校去幼稚園啦、小學啦，去同啲小學生咧、幼稚園小朋友去分享一啲代際嘅故事，去推廣呢個代際共融嘅信息啦。咁我哋亦都同康康院合作啦，就 develop 咗一套咧叫 OQII model 啦，代際互動嘅最佳模式嘅。咁呢一個係一個 manual 嚟嘅，即係有陣時咧唔同年紀人擺埋一齊咧，其實唔代表咧其實做到個共融嘅效果，可能有陣時有啲反效果出嚟添，係咪？咁所以我哋總結咗一啲成功嘅要素。咁咧就係，其實咧有陣時咧唔好嘥咗個機會。其實我哋長者中心或者係一啲青少年中心，有好多時咧都因為一啲義工嘅服務啦，或者學校啦會入去 NGO 嗰度做義工。咁但係咧即係有陣時就擺埋一齊，反而未必係有嗰個共融個效果喎。咁我哋呢一個咧model 咧就係整合咗我哋一啲經驗啦，總結咗一啲成功嘅要素。咁如果大家咧想喺推代際服務嘅時候，會唔會考慮下加入呢一啲嘅因素？可能咧佢個效果係會好啲喎。咁我哋呢個係康康於實證嘅。係啦，咁呢一個我哋除咗喺自己咧內部單位會做staff training，去同我哋唔同嘅單位嘅長者中心啊、青少年中心嘅同工咧去分享，等佢哋喺日常咧嘅工作入邊都可以加入呢個 OQI 嘅元素，去推廣跨代共融之餘咧，其實我哋呢個 course 喺社協嗰度都認證咗嘅。咁如果將來我哋舉辦呢個課程嘅時候，大家有興趣了解多啲咧，都可以咧係即係去了解下啦咁。咁所以咧，其實頭先最後啦，其實我哋可以做多，因為我諗如果有做過代際服務嘅一啲同工都會好感受到咧嗰個 benefit 啊。咁我哋好想咧可以咧即係多啲人咧，社會上多啲人可以去做呢一件事。咁可以點做？頭先咧其實唔同嘅講者都已經講咗，其中一個就係我自己就覺得一個就係深度啦，一個係廣泛度。咁廣泛度其中加 KPI 啦，或者係一個學校會唔會將呢個代際嘅學習成為一個其實佢哋恆常嘅學習嘅一部分咧？咁呢個可以令到代際服務更廣泛，而唔係單靠一啲可能好 piecemeal 嘅一啲服務計劃，或者係譬如我哋一間好細嘅中心去推廣啦。咁另外深度咧，就係頭先我所講嘅啦。會唔會其實大家平時都好多機會咧，會即係涉獵到一啲舉辦一啲唔同年齡層咧嘅活動，即係例如好簡單，學校成日都要揾長者中心做義工噶嘛，係咪？係啦，咁會唔會咧唔係一次性咧帶小朋友去探下長者，跟住拜拜咁樣咧？有冇機會咧做多1-2節？係啦，做多1-2節嘅服務，係啦，跟住加入我哋所謂嘅啲成功嘅要素，令到呢個活動咧真係可以真正做到一個共融嘅效果咧。咁呢個係我今日少少嘅分享，多謝大家。
非常多謝阿 Linda 嘅分享啊嚇。其實我喺2012年嘅時候咧，都有幸咧成為係見證呢一個活動嘅開展嘅。咁啊好開心見到今日即係所有嘅成就嚇，所有嘅發展。多謝 Linda 提出啦，其實我哋做任何嘅嘢咧，其實實證都係好緊要嘅，即係用研究啦，係去了解下呢一個即係活動究竟佢嗰個成效係點樣咧。咁其實呢一個係重要嘅。咁亦都我知道，如果係做血緣3代嘅家庭活動咧，係真係好難嘅。咁所以你哋能夠推動到呢一樣咧，真係一個好大嘅突破嚟。好啦，咁跟住落嚟咧，就係第3位嘅講者咧，就係嚟自欣獎基金會嘅項目主管 Iris 黃以珊小姐。
好，大家好，我係嚟自欣象基金會嘅 Iris 啦。咁今日都想首先好多謝頭先小麗姑娘同埋林姑娘嘅分享，無論喺綜合服務定係喺一個代際嘅一個centre 跨代嘅中心，其實都我自己都獲益良多。咁今日想分享下少少咧，我哋欣象本身希望嘗試做到嘅一個跨界別合作嘅一個模式。咁我哋欣象咧，其實都做咗跨代服務咧，都好幾年噶啦。咁我哋其中一個重點，頭先多謝講者們都幫我提出咗，好常見我哋想做到嘅係一個恆常嘅合作。因為建立關係，長者同小朋友要做到好朋友，其實都真係需要時間。我哋好一次半次咁去 visit， 其實做唔到。咁所以我哋另外一個好想做嘅重點咧，亦都係在於我哋希望可以同唔同嘅單位有一個機構層面嘅合作，去聯繫社區裏邊本身已經有嘅機構，大家一齊去合作。咁因為咧，我哋欣象頭先多謝 Teresa 介紹，我哋咧唔會提供直接嘅服務，反而咧我哋係希望去協調社區裏面本身嘅服務提供者一齊去合作。點解我哋會咁做咧？其實係因為我哋見到喺社區裏面，長者小朋友之間其實係有好多共同嘅需要，有好多需要係通嘅。譬如大家都會需要學習一啲新嘅事物啦，去繼續 keep up with 佢哋嘅人生又好，一個社會嘅潮流都好。亦都大家都係人，其實唔淨啲長者小朋友啦，我哋需要陪伴，我哋希望俾人聽到，亦都希望講到自己嘅故事俾人哋聽。呢一啲共同嘅需要，其實社區裏面大家而家已經做得好盡力，去希望去扶持佢哋喺呢一方面嘅需求。咁所以無論可能學校啦、社福界啦、長者服務、幼兒服務等等，其實都已經用緊各種嘅資源，包括空間，包括專業嘅人士、專業嘅知識，有心有力，再加唔同嘅網絡去支援緊佢哋。咁但係預期大家一個還一個咁做，其實我哋係咪可以一齊做呢？做到1+1唔單止等於，仲要係3、4、5、6。而個3、4、5、6點嚟嘅呢，其實就係返去我哋本身嘅受惠者，我哋嘅長者同埋學生，其實都有好多嘢喺呢個 cycle 裏面係可以俾到大家。長者有好豐富嘅人生經驗，有好嚴謹嘅價值觀可以傳承俾下一代。小朋友有無窮無盡嘅活力，我相信與會者大家都可能係家長，都應該會同意佢哋好多嘅活力啦，接受新事物嘅能力亦都比較高。咁可以點樣喺個過程之中將呢一樣嘢pass 到俾長者，去繼續鼓勵佢哋繼續向前學習呢？咁樣。咁講到呢度呢，唔知大家頭先有冇機會去睇到嗰邊，我哋有一個少少嘅display， 係啦，有一啲好似好靚好得意嘅街市檔攤，又有個地圖咁樣，係咩東東嚟嘅呢？咁嗰個其實係我哋一個叫長幼學堂嘅一個活動，佢裡面啱呢個學期其中一班佢哋嘅作品。靚唔靚呢？我唔會喺呢度評論嘅，因為呢個亦都唔係我哋呢個活動嘅重點。我哋呢個活動嘅重點係希望連結社區裏面學校同埋佢鄰近嘅長者中心，將長者帶入學校同同學仔一齊上堂，做出嚟嘅嘢，好似頭先咁講，結果唔重要，重要嘅係過程。呢一個結果係佢哋溝通傾出嚟嘅一個結果，係佢哋想象中，咦？如果我最理想嘅街市，我想開咩檔？點樣養貓定養狗？我想個社區裏面有啲乜嘢可以令到我個 buddy 開心啲，亦都有啲乜嘢係令到我自己又開心啲嘅咧？咁樣咧，齋我講有啲悶嘅，咁所以咧，我而家想咧，俾我哋其中一位參加者嘅短片俾大家睇下。
啦，每人做一個攤位，咁然之後大家有商有量咧，就擺呢4個攤位係擺喺邊4個位置咧係最受歡迎咧咁樣，咁所以同佢哋一齊咧都好開心。雖然話香港而家咧全球都老化，咁都係尊敬長者，我哋又唔可以倚老賣老喎。而家咧係離唔開呢個媒體啦，係咪？咁所以嚟講，佢就教識我哋點樣用地圖啦，點樣嚟呢度啦，或者係大家點樣溝通啦，係透過呢個手機嘅信息咯。以前話咧3年就一個代溝噶嘛，咁但係而家咧嗱，我呢個71歲嘅老人家同佢哋咧差唔多半個世紀喎，即係50年喎。咁所以嚟講，佢哋覺得原來你哋以前嘅長者係咁樣，同而家咧，即係因為大家都喺一個社區裏邊啊嘛，係咪？咁你真係要點樣共融咧？要同佢哋溝通。咁所以咧就係大家都要互相適應嘅。咁
好，我哋聽到嚟呢度先。 咁樣咧，我唔係特登揀佢出嚟嘅。其實 Holly 佢呢個婆婆叫 Holly 啦，佢今年71歲。佢呢個唔係一個個例，喺我哋過去嘅無論喺 survey 嘅 result 啦，定係喺同長者們或者學生們嘅溝通咧，頭先講到嗰幾樣嘢，佢哋都係同認識咗新朋友，好開心，學到新嘅嘢，我可以講我嘅故仔俾人聽，佢亦都肯聽，而因此會改變咗佢對我同埋我呢個群體嘅一啲嘅想法咁樣咧。但係要做到咁樣嘅結果咧，其實都真係唔容易啊！好似頭先玲玲咁講，都有 barriers 嘅喺香港。咁我哋頭先第一啦，咁可能係 funding 方面啦。咁欣象基金會咧就唔係一個subvented 政府資助嘅機構，咁所以我哋會有比較大嘅彈性咧。而家跳咗出嚟，希望去做到跨界別，去聯繫到大家一齊做。咁但係第二更加重要咧，係大家可能思考上面，由參加者去到幫手嘅同工，去到後面嘅所有支持單位，其實大家認唔認同呢件事，同埋有冇個信心，覺得自己可以做到呢？咁呢一啲嘢其實全部都好需要咧，有啲人幫手搬走呢一啲嘅 barrier 嘅。咁我哋需要喺機構層面，我哋需要一個好強而有力嘅一個 leadership， 大家去帶住大家去嘗試踏出第一步，去做一啲大家未必做過或者唔係自己本職嘅東西，做闊少少。而前線嘅問題咧，亦都需要大家一齊幫忙。第二亦都係時間啦，參加者需要時間建立關係，而機構之間如果想要建立一個長期嘅合作關係咧，其實亦都需要時間磨合。第三咧，就今日研討會希望做到嘅其中一樣嘢，我哋希望成功嘅例子可以鼓勵大家，更加多人覺得呢一件事係可行，成功帶嚟更加多嘅成功。咁所以咧，呢幾樣嘢咧，我都發覺好似唔係好使講啦。頭先大家都重複咗好多次啦。我哋都希望咧嚟緊我哋會唔會可以同大家一齊合作？可能喺訓練方面，俾而家或者嚟緊未來嘅同工有更加多嘅訓練，喺 mindset 上面有改變。有一啲 ready to use 嘅工具可以幫到佢哋。喺資助機構嗰邊，會唔會可能一係就拆牆鬆綁，一係甚至乎喺 KPI 上面可以俾多啲 incentive， 俾多啲鼓勵大家去嘗試去開展呢一啲嘅嘢，去做1+1大過2。第三，我知道今日都有唔少嘅學界嘅朋友喺度，咁都希望同你哋咧可以一齊去合作，去實證咁去睇下，到底點樣嘅跨代模式喺香港呢個環境係有效，我哋可以推廣出去嘅咧咁樣。咁最後咧，我都想 share 另外一位參加者阿善玲佢嘅一個同我哋嘅分享。佢話佢參加完個課堂之後咧，見到小朋友而家咁自信咁樣，可以去表達自己嘅意見，令佢諗翻起佢細個好怕醜。咁而佢亦都好希望咧，佢得到小朋友嘅鼓勵咧，佢可以踏出佢嘅第一步去學更加多新嘅嘢。咁希望今日咧，我哋大家都向善玲同埋向佢嘅同學仔一齊學習，我哋一齊咧踏出第一步，去同更加多唔同嘅界別啦，或者新嘅朋友去嘗試一啲跨代嘅實踐，令到香港咧變成一個更加共融嘅社區。多謝大家。
我非常多謝 Iris 嘅分享。咁 Iris 提出咗一樣好重要嘅咧，就係我哋欣象基金會咧係香港第一間 NGO 係專做跨代共融嘅活動嘅。但係咧，因為我哋唔係政府資助，即係唔係好似救世軍啊同埋香港仔坊會啊係受資助嘅機構啦。咁所以我哋都係有啲我哋都盡力去找尋我哋自己嘅資源。咁其中一個當然除咗係金錢上嘅支援之外咧，其實就係 resources。咁我哋都好希望能夠同所有在座各位，如果有機會合作嘅話咧，我哋都係好歡迎嘅。咁就跟住落嚟咧，就唔知我哋仲有幾多時間可以有台下嘅嘉賓咧，可以即係有啲發問。有冇一啲問題係想問我哋台上3位嘅講者啊？係，我哋有位朋友。
好多謝各位俾咁多嘅分享我哋。我想請教啦，60歲以上好多退休嘅人士，但係仍然有好多體力，亦都好希望可以做 volunteer 嘅。咁Iris 又好，其他啲講座嘅 leaders 都好，我想請教，如果要參與，應該 contact 邊一位？同埋你哋有冇年齡限制？ 同埋有啲咩其他嘅 requirement 先可以參與你哋嘅活動咧？多謝。
好，多謝晒位朋友嘅提問，或者你哋邊位想回答？
我俾人點咗名，咁我就答先啦，咁啊，咁我哋咧，60歲以上嘅長者參與，我哋非常歡迎嘅，係啦，咁其實因為恩象嘅模式，頭先講啦，我哋係同我哋社區嘅機構一齊合作，咁所以我哋嘅參加者比較多咧，就係本身已經 join 咗，我亦都強烈鼓勵大家去鼓勵身邊嘅人咧去參與你哋附近嘅一啲可能長者中心啊嘅活動，咁樣咧，因為咁樣咧，無論係我哋見到同工們。你會提供好多呢啲跨代嘅機會啦，咁而我哋呢一邊咧，亦都可以於是聯繫唔同嘅社區單位，去一齊去做多啲唔同嘅合作。咁我哋亦都會有一啲嘅義工服務啦，好似你咁講，我哋都知道好多長者其實好有心有力，學校嗰邊都應該會好歡迎佢哋入去咧，一齊去幫忙咧，去令到同學仔有更加多嘅進步同學習。
咁我都講少少我係香港仔坊會啦 ，Linda 啦。咁60歲以上想做義工服務呢個都係我哋上融坊另外一個服務，賣咗廣告先。我哋有一個50加嘅義工服務嘅，即係我哋叫 Young Old Hub 啦，係啦。咁我哋係會係好歡迎一啲50歲以上，我哋冇上限嘅年紀。我哋嚟我哋嗰度做義工咧，好多時都係60零歲，有啲甚至70幾歲噶啦，係啦。咁我哋有唔同嘅義工服務嘅機會啦，咁去俾佢哋去參與啦。咁頭先都講啦，我哋義工服務有好多唔同嘅範疇啦，即係例如即係代際服務，即係義工啦，做義工啦，或者係一啲即係佢哋學習一啲嘢，學完啲嘢咧，可能去 contribute 去 serve 一啲有需要嘅人啦。咁所以咧呢個都係啦，介紹埋我哋另外一個服務就係50歲以上嘅一個義工服務。咁我哋都好歡迎，即係可以即係去認識我哋嘅服務多啲啦，係啦。咁上融坊除咗跨代服務，另外一個就係呢個50加嘅義工服務啦。
我可以用呢個闊啲嘅層面去介紹好嘛？咁係救世軍嘅同事。咁其實咧政府咧係俾資源係唔同嘅機構咧係去營運一啲叫做長者中心啦，佢有長者鄰舍中心同埋長者地區中心。其實咧都係好鼓勵我哋係需要咧照顧呢一啲有心有力有健康。想行出嚟咧，係貢獻多啲嘅一啲，我哋叫做金齡人士啊。咁所以咧，其實無論係政府資助嘅長者中心啦，或者可能頭先坊會嘅同事所講咧，就係咧有一啲唔同機構，佢都有一啲嘅自負盈虧嘅一啲嘅長者嘅項目咧。其實咧，而家係非常非常之多，又好玩又吸引，但係咧亦都唔止付出啊！我聽到好多金齡人士參加咗，除咗付出之外咧，自己都有好多學習同埋體驗。咁所以咧，其實你上網咧，你打是但一間嘅長者嘅中心咧，都係會有呢個支援嘅。唔該。
好啊，多謝晒大家嘅分享，亦都好多謝各位朋友嘅提問。咁啊，因為時間嘅關係咧，我哋可能要即係完結呢一節啦。咁最後咧就係我都希望藉住我哋3位講者嘅分享，咁啊今日俾到大家好多嘅啟示。點樣重要嘅就係點樣以後咧能夠係繼續去發揚光大我哋長者同埋跨代呢一個服務。咁啊，其中有一啲重要嘅點子啦，即係譬如話點樣去加入跨代呢一個服務咧，成為我哋未來工作嘅 KPI 啦。點樣用實證嘅研究咧，去令到我哋呢一件事係個效果咧係得到科學性嘅即係一啲指引嘅。咁同埋係希望亦都係一啲長期啲嘅活動，就唔係話一次過嘅啦。亦都係將我哋嘅活動咧能夠生活化，咁啊令到喺長者同埋青少年之間咧，都喺佢哋日常生活入邊咧，可以進行到呢一個跨代嘅共用嘅呢一個好處。咁啊，最後一個好消息咧，就係琴日嘅特首嘅報告入邊咧提到，長者學院基金咧係將會注資多5000萬嘅。咁呢一個咧，亦都係一個時候。讓到我哋或者可以未做跨代共用嘅機構咧，可以諗下啦，做緊嘅亦都可以朝住我哋 AI 新時代咧，點樣去諗一啲更新同 AI 有關係嘅活動。好啊，多謝大家。 多謝3位嘅講者。
好多謝咁多位，多謝前教授幫我哋主持呢一個第一環節嘅。而家咧我哋就會有一個短短嘅 break 10分鐘，咁外面亦都有啲咖啡啊、茶等等嘅。咁希望喺呢個時間亦都可以繼續交流啦，同埋我哋而家亦都會有另外一個 Mentimeter 嘅調查。佢哋影完張相先，多謝晒。而家我哋下一個問題，如果大家想回答嘅話咧，就麻煩大家用電話 scan 一 scan 嘅 QR code。而今次嘅問題咧就係、大家會希望見到啲乜嘢嘅支持咧？見到啲咩 support 咧？我呢個跨代嘅項目。咁等陣間 break 完翻嚟，我哋亦都會分享翻個結果嘅。等先見。 各位嘉賓，我哋下一個環節馬上要開始啦，麻煩各位就座。好，麻煩大家就座下，先嚟睇一睇上一個問題嘅結果先。我哋究竟需要啲乜嘢層面嘅支持嘅呢？似乎最多人講嘅就係政策上嘅支持啦，同埋一啲社區裏邊嘅合作喎。呢兩大部分呢，頭先呢喺上一個環節呢都有講過噶啦。好，接住落嚟。我哋而家進入下一個小組嘅討論，主題係從屏幕時間到共享時光，促進學生成長，培養同理心與深化社區連結。我哋呢個環節好高興邀請到陳黃麗娟博士為我哋主持。以及參加小組討論嘅嘉賓有何家慧博士，佢係拔萃男書院附屬小學嘅校長；救世軍田家炳學校校長李安迪校長；力奇者有限公司執行董事陳浩文先生。多謝各位。
係各位朋友，而家差唔多啱啱12點鐘啊，差唔多係午安啦嚇。即係我知道我哋而家咧嚟到另外一個場景啦，就嚟到係主要都係學校或者學生，咁咧就好似年紀而家就突然間就細咗好多啦。咁我哋而家想知道下咧，究竟呢一個嘅跨代共用喺學界嚟講，特別係細佬哥小學啦嚇，我哋有兩個小學，好榮幸請到兩位小學嘅校長講講喺學校入邊點樣透過課程，或者校內入邊一啲嘅聯科嘅活動，點樣去培育細佬哥對老人家，或者係老人家同細佬哥之間嘅互動，喺呢個我哋叫做 AI 嘅年代底下，點樣去產生一個咁樣嘅 synergy， 一個互相去了解啊，互相去一個嘅成長啊，即係老人家都係成長嘅，細佬哥亦當然係成長啦。點樣喺嗰個嘅智力方面，亦都係點樣喺個心，喺嗰個嘅性情啊，各方面嗰個嘅成長，咁咧我哋亦都請到Empathy 嘅一個 NGO 嘅主席，佢亦都好特別嘅，佢就係喺一個嘅透過一啲課外活動底下，點樣係讓係學童啦嚇，讓年輕人點樣由一個長者之間，原來長者都係好叻嘅，可以點樣學到長者之間。可以傳授一啲咁好嘅功夫俾佢哋，或者係點樣可以由佢哋之間就學到一啲嘅覺得係非常之可以由佢身上學到嘅嘢。咁因為我哋嘅時間，我哋知道三位嘉賓都準備咗好多啲嘅分享，亦都有好多啲 slides。咁我哋想知道下喺呢個唔同嘅場景底下發生咗啲乜嘢？喺一個 AI 嘅年代底下，點樣透過學校嘅活動、聯科活動、課外活動，點樣喺呢一個可以持續咁樣去發生一個變化，一個正面嘅變化。首先我就請拔萃男書院附屬中學Daphne 小學係 Daphne 係同我哋分享。
好啊，多謝大家。我係 Daphne 啦，咁就拔萃男書院附屬小學嘅校長。咁喺我嘅學校其實係一個12年一條龍嘅學校㗎。 咁所以一直咧，我哋都係好希望能夠培育我哋嘅小朋友咧，係喺小學階段咧，成為一個懂得愛與服務嘅孩子啦 ，to love and to serve。And then 咧，當佢成為中學生之後咧，我哋就再幫佢學習成為一個懂得去服務同埋做領導嘅年青人。咁所以我哋都會睇得到咧，其實如果我哋想要慢慢培育一啲好嘅領袖，其實佢係必須要有同理心。Empathy， 我哋都會覺得係喺特別而家呢個年代，大家都會了解就係小朋友咧，通常都係唔係好多兄弟姊妹啦，有時都會即係個社會比較富裕，佢比較會係自我一啲，所以我哋都好想咧，即係諗一啲好有意義嘅方法，去幫佢學習點樣有同理心咧，點樣識得去聆聽其他人，同埋照顧到其他人嘅需要。咁所以咧，其實喺我哋學校裏面咧，好多年前咧已經同Mighty Oak 有一啲合作咧，去舉辦一啲長幼共融嘅活動嘅。咁喺好多年前比較多嘅就會係可能係去探訪一啲長者啦，有啲表演啦，有啲遊戲啦。咁但係我哋都會即係睇得到咧，喺而家呢個年代都真係進入咗一個 AI 年代。咁一方面我哋都要去培育我哋嘅小朋友去掌握一啲 AI 嘅知識。咁但係我哋都會去諗得到，其實 AI 只係一個工具。我點樣係幫我哋嘅小朋友學習善用一啲有意義嘅工具去做一啲真係可以同人去聯繫嘅嘢啦。咁所以呢2年我哋嘅學校呢，就係喺考完試一啲比較學習比較輕鬆嘅時間呢，我哋就安排一啲呢1個禮拜嘅活動。譬如我哋之前都有一啲活動就係我哋一方面咧幫學生學習咗一啲 AI 嘅知識，咁然後咧佢哋就嘗試用 AI 咧去 generate 一啲以前即係可能老友記年輕嘅年代即係會見到嘅嘢啊，咁然後又同佢哋有啲傾偈啊咁樣樣啦。咁啱啱過去1年咧，我就可能可以分享一個活動。咁開始咧，你都會睇到少少嘅嗰個活動嘅一啲成果嘅。咁咧，我哋就會首先咧就係安排小朋友咧，就真係去同一啲長者有一啲嘅溝通，咁了解下佢哋嘅生活嘅情況啊，了解到佢哋生活嘅有啲咩嘅需要啦。咁然後跟住咧，佢哋就會學一啲 AI 嘅知識。咁跟住咧，佢哋就用嗰個 App Generator 啦。咁就係去設計一啲嘅 apps， 或者係一啲即係 robotic 嘅一啲機械嘅即係用品咁樣樣啦。咁佢就係設計呢啲咁樣嘅 app 咧，就係睇下點樣去幫老友記咧去處理一啲生活嘅需要。咁咧佢哋設計完之後咧，就係我哋就舉辦咗一個呢個嘅樂齡科技展，咁就係請咗啲老友記都一齊嚟咧去睇下佢哋嘅學習成果。佢哋譬如嗰啲 app 係有啲乜嘢嘅用途咧？有啲就係可能係提醒老人家食藥啦，有啲就係幫佢提醒佢哋去覆診啦。咁有啲咧就係提議一啲可能佢有一啲身體嘅狀況，佢哋會設計提議一啲可以用啲咩湯水啊，整啲咩食物啦。咁有一啲組咧就係中意 robotics 機械嗰啲咧，就製造啲機械臂，因為有時佢都會知道咧老友記即係嗰個身體冇咁便利啊，咁可能佢就開始去諗有冇一啲即係機械嘅產品咧係可以幫到佢哋處理一啲日常嘅需要咯。咁然後當老友記嚟，佢就真係可以一齊同佢試下用啦。咁我記得我舊年去即係參觀呢個展覽嘅時候，同啲學生傾偈啊，咁即係我都係好欣賞嘅。佢哋話俾我聽，Dr. Ho 開頭咧，我哋整咗我哋個 app 以為係好好，點知咧啲老友記嚟到嘅時候，就我哋都發現原來我哋嘅 app 有啲問題啊。例如就話啲字可能太細啦，咁又或者有啲就係可能佢哋未必識嗰啲輸入法啦。咁所以咧，我哋喺嗰一刻咧都即刻做一啲改變，即係即刻去寫嗰啲曲，希望咧嗰個 app 咧係能夠真係幫到老友記。咁我自己睇呢一個活動就係好有意義咯，因為佢事實上係要學識跳出自己嘅認知，佢真係站喺其他人嗰個角度去睇人哋嘅需要，然後去做一啲嘅 adjustment。咁我覺得呢一個活動咧，其實唔單止係雙贏，係三贏添。即係一方面，我呢一班小朋友去學咗一啲技巧啦，咁同埋真係 嗰個同理心嗰度係有一個好實際、好真實嘅場景，佢可以活用出嚟啦。咁啲老友記咧，我哋啲同事啦，或者我同佢哋傾偈啦，佢哋即係我希望唔係因為好客氣話啊，都真係幫到手喎。即係如果可能慢慢 develop 落去，希望都真係能夠成為即係長者幫到佢哋一個工具啦。咁喺我學校嘅層面就係，如果我哋嘅小朋友真係能夠有呢一個能力，開始多少少去照顧到人哋嘅需要，咁你可以想象佢哋同齊嗰個嘅溝通啦，或者特別頭先我都話，我哋學校係希望咧去培養一啲未來嘅領袖，即係我哋嘅思考係，我哋好希望喺而家細嘅時間，佢有一個咁樣嘅經驗，佢有一個咁嘅意識。第日當佢無論長大咗，係成為喺政府啊，或者係一啲私人嘅機構裏面去擔任一啲領導嘅工作嘅時候，佢係學識點樣去照顧其他人嘅需要。咁所以即如果我諗翻我自己細個經驗就係我都係喺細個嘅時候開始去做一啲義工嘅服務，讓我覺得喺我嘅生命裏面係應該要為其他人服務。咁所以我哋都覺得，如果我哋喺小學嘅時間製造多啲呢啲機會俾佢哋，我哋希望成個社會都係多啲願意走出去自己嘅小圈子，願意去為其他人服務咯。咁我希望即係呢個少少嘅經驗都係能夠可以大家一齊再去討論下點樣可以未來做得更加好。多謝。
好，多謝 Daphne。我哋咧就我哋呢個 panel 諗住咧就係佢哋做咗 first round 講咗先。又跟住咧，我哋就會一個 interaction， 所以咧就係而家Daphne 就 first part 啦，跟住又輪到Andy。咁嗱 Daphne 咧間學校個切入點就係咁樣 ，Andy 間學校又好唔同嘅，佢就間學校就都好耐啦，同即係同欣象，咁佢哋嘅切入點亦都好唔同嘅，聽 Andy 分享。
好，救世軍田家炳學校嘅李安迪校長啦 ，Andy 啦。咁我哋根本上學校係救世軍嘅一間學校啦。咁根本上我哋嘅任務或者我哋嘅使命就根本上就去幫人，因為救世軍嘅一個 mission 啦，就係心向神，手助人。咁根本上就要做噶啦。咁所以點解話做咗好多年咧？就係咁解。咁其實裏邊咧，我哋都一路都有啲做義工服務啦。咁但係咧，我哋做義工服務可能即係回顧翻歷史啦。咁最基本，我諗一般學校都會咁做講座啦，講你要幫下老人家啦。咁跟住可能帶佢老人院參觀啦。咁但係呢一啲咧，其實都入唔到學生嘅心。咁真正要改變一個小朋友咧，係佢真正同長者有啲好互動嘅接觸咧，佢先至會有嗰個嘅改變。因為通常而家年青人咧都覺得長者咧好似另一個世界嘅人。咁普遍嚟講，因為我哋嚟自基層啲嘅學校，佢哋對於長者嘅感覺啦，都係會病啦，唔係咁健康啦，唔係咁衞生啦。咁所以有時甚至家長都有呢個嘅觀感。咁所以有時去老人院服務，佢哋都話擔心，會唔會傳染病？頭先都話應該係我哋小朋友傳染翻佢，就應該會係更大機會嘅。咁所以我哋都要打破翻呢啲嘅一啲解啦。咁帶佢去睇，哇，老人家好乾淨，個院舍好乾淨，其實好精靈嘅喎。即係回想翻先話，係咪金齡族啊？如果60歲係咪先講？係嘛？我唔識，我唔知道嗰個 terms 啊。即係嗱，如果即係我哋呢個世界營養好咗，醫療好咗咧，咁金齡族即係代表我細個時間四大天王都應該而家都係金齡族。如果阿成成嚟教我學生跳舞咧，即係佢哋好難想像佢係一個長者，係咪啊？即係劉德華都係一個長者。即係如果用翻個定義嚟講，咁所以其實即係我哋而家做緊嘅就會同恩像啦去做好多合作，就係令到即係改變翻小朋友對長者嗰個觀感。即係例如話佢哋嘅動能力其實都係仲係好好啦，或者係亦都有一點就係話唔係一定要我哋幫佢先開心。即係以前我哋嘅施比受更有福，其實老人家係咪真係好想你幫咧？我哋都會同學生反思呢個問題。其實佢可能唔想你幫啊，佢想攞到嘅定位係佢退咗休都仲有用。咁所以其實即係話好多唔同嘅可能大師傅或者係某啲行業嘅翹楚，其實佢都係可以調翻轉，透過呢個我哋學生俾佢教，係反而令到佢覺得更加開心。其實佢唔想你幫，點解我要你幫咧？咁所以呢個其實 我哋從小灌輸個觀念同以前可能要有啲唔同，係因為小朋友其實係我哋灌輸啲咩俾佢，佢就會有啲咁嘅睇法咯。咁所以特別 AI 世代啦，我哋要更加小心去做啦，就係如果我哋太過依賴 AI 或者而家我哋嘅 social media 咧，小朋友係會封閉咗世界，就喺裏邊，佢就唔會去再關心周圍嘅人。咁講到呢度先，因為一陣仲可以分享。咁可能有少少片段啦，就係我哋之前做過嘅一啲活動，好短嘅啫，大約幾十秒，係啦，可以俾大家欣賞。主要兩個導向啦，藝術啦，同埋喺個體育方面同即係院舍合作，係啦。你有時佢見到公公婆婆畫畫，原來係咁靚，原因佢真係一個書法家或者一個畫中國畫嘅，咁佢哋就會知道其實世界天外有嘢，即係佢係可以喺長者身上學到好多嘢嘅。其實。
多謝 Andy， 咁輪到呢個一定唔係長者啦，呢個真係後生好多啦。咁佢有Herman 係啊 Herman 真係與別不同啊。你講下啦，即係你就即係唔係學界嘅，但係你又接觸好多啲學生嘅。咁你亦都係喺另外嗰個嘅喺好活動啊，好 energetic 嗰邊，即係喺呢個切入點入邊。就嗰個同學生一個嘅 interaction 嘅，咁不如你講講啦，即係就住你準備咗好多 slide， 俾人 cut 咗cut 到3張。3
張啫。好多謝介紹。Hello， 大家好，我係 Herman 啦，咁係一間 NGO 叫 Empathy for the Elderly 嘅主席啦。咁我會想講係做跨代活動咧，你一入咗呢個領域咧，你就覺得好好玩嘅。咁所以我今日喺好多嘅跨代運動入邊咧，咁就揀咗一個同大家去分享啦。頭先Andy 都有講到，我哋社會上面對於長者有好多唔同嘅一啲嘅偏見啦，或者一啲先入為主嘅主見啦。咁我哋開頭咧就覺得好想去，咁如果想改變長者形象，就不如推進啲啦。我就成立咗香港第一隊嘅長者棒球隊。長者玩一樣咁熱血棒球嘅嘢，應該鼓勵唔到啦啩。咁我哋就好想咧，就去將一啲好熱血長者打棒球嘅畫面咧，去話俾大家聽啦。咁我哋仲代表香港去比賽添，所以其實今個 weekend 我哋亦都會帶我哋第3隊嘅長者棒球隊去比賽啦。咁做到咁上下咧，開始有同 funders 傾開嘅時候，佢就話：哇，你班長者咁熱血，又有咁強嘅一個 growth mindset 咧，你有冇諗過可以 pair up with 一啲有需要嘅學校，一啲有需要嘅學童咧，令到佢學習嗰個 resilience 嗰個抵抗逆境嘅一個壓力啊，或者去鼓勵佢哋咧咁樣。咁所以傾開咗之後，再有 funders 嘅支持啊嘛，開展咗呢一個跨代嘅棒球嘅成長伙伴計劃。咁呢個就見到啦。咁主要咧其實就係呢班嘅長者棒球隊，佢就會 pair up with 一啲基層啦有需要嘅學生啦。咁就真係1對1嘅。咁一個長者棒球就會 pair up with 一個小伙伴啦。咁你就會組成一個好好嘅 buddies， 咁就一齊真係認真地去透過1至2個學期嘅訓練咧，就希望真係可以組成咗一隊跨代嘅棒球隊。咁當中咧，即係我哋係一個 team sport 嚟啊嘛，佢一定會有爭執啊，一定會有誤解啦，好多嘅困難啦，但係一齊去克服佢之後咧，希望就可以喺球場透過一個比賽咧，就去展現翻佢哋一個成長嘅一個經歷咁啊，純粹去好多字我唔會講晒，放心。但係我頭先講緊，我哋學生有啲咩嘅需要，或者我哋嘅長者其實可以發揮到咩角色咧？我會覺得咧，其實對一班可能基層嘅同學仔嚟講咧，其實我哋而家講 AI 世代啦，但係反而最缺乏咧，其實佢哋係想揾人傾偈，一個夥伴去傾偈咧，係好難嘅事。尤其我哋對嗰班係一啲有特別學習需要嘅同學咧，咁咧全間學校咧係得一個社工咧，係可能1個月有1-2次去傾偈嘅部分咁樣。咁所以咧，我哋嘅長者球員咧嚟到每個星期同佢哋一齊去打波、見面傾偈咧，對於啲學生嚟講，佢好似多咗一個好好嘅一個 mentors， 仲係會同你一齊打波嘅 mentors 咧，咁佢會好多去傾訴嘅對象啦。第二咧，團隊運動嘅機會啦。你唔話唔係喎，你話學 學校都好多咩棒球隊啊、足球隊啊成啦。但係我哋諗翻層咧，其實呢啲嘅團體運動咧都係精英制嘅。你要去選拔，你入咗去之後咧，你先可以成為咗學校嘅足球隊。咁但係團隊運動本身就係一樣可以培養一個學生好多正向能量嘅嘢啦。咁但係如果我係有需要嘅同學仔，但我又冇佢咁叻嘅時候，我咪缺乏咗一個機會咧。咁所以我哋成立呢個跨代嘅棒球隊咧，都話只要你係想同長者一齊去玩嘅咧，你都可以入嚟呢個跨代運動會入邊咧，一齊去真係去一個比賽去做啦。咁詳細同埋最後就係正面嘅鼓勵。我哋pair up with 福榮街官立小學，可能係基層嘅同學，同埋揀得啲成績都係唔係太好嘅。咁所以咧，我發現佢哋一放學之後咧，一拎起個成績單俾家長睇咧，好難揾到位讚啊！通常喺放學之後聽咧鬧多過讚嘅。咁但係咧，我哋透過呢一個跨代運動，我有陣時覺得長者就真係攞正牌咧去讚小朋友嘅。咁所以我哋一路都鼓勵啲長者球員，無論你係打棒球或者都冇好大做跨代運動嘅時候咧。小朋友有啲咩做得好嘅時候，就真係放膽去讚。我諗你哋係攞正牌去讚，亦都係一個好真摯嘅讚賞。咁所以佢哋打到個波又讚，或者今次跑得比上次快又讚，咁就慢慢咧將呢班好缺乏肯定嘅小朋友嘅鼓勵咧，就透過我哋長者棒球員把口咧，咁就去俾翻啲 recognition 佢啦。咁最後就同大家可能有少少錯睇啲，唔好意思，咁我分享少少故事啦。咁最左上角呢個咧叫啟康。咁咧入到嚟咧，社工已經係訓示咯。佢話佢係啱啱咧上個禮拜燒完個垃圾桶有刑毀，因為佢咧放咗學之後冇人理佢，就喺深水埗度流連啦。咁就聯群結黨咁樣嘅。咁咧我哋就 pair up 咗咧呢個叫 Franca 嘅長者球員咧。點解揀佢？因為佢以前係一個退休嘅訓導老師嚟嘅。咁就 pair up 住，真係好 match 咁樣。咁就 pair up with 佢啦。咁就透過棒球學 discipline 啊嘛，佢就真係好中意棒球，咁就用棒 discipline 去令到佢咧，將佢喺街頭嘅領導才能，即係可能捏住啲街童咧，就真係擺翻正喺隊波入邊，咁咧就成為咗一隊波嘅隊長咁樣。咁我哋而家仲引薦咗佢去區隊嗰度去繼續去發展啦。咁第二個咧就係 Omer 啦，咁佢就係一個少數族裔嘅同學仔啦。咁佢一開頭佢有融入嘅問題嘅，啲同學仔叫佢 monkey 咁佢就得啖笑咁樣。咁我哋咧亦都安排咗一個咧係一個南馬來西亞嘅移民嘅一個長者嚟嘅，所以佢同佢膚色差唔多啦。咁亦都係講廣東話講得唔鹹唔淡咁樣。但係透過咁樣 match 阿 Omer 突然之間佢覺得佢有一個好好嘅 role model 俾佢啦。咁就亦都係透過棒球嘅時候咧，咁就互相有一個成長，同埋佢而家咧就被同學仔接納咗係隊波嘅一部分。咁所以咧，去到學期尾嘅時候咧，同學仔就直接稱呼佢個名咧，就冇再叫佢 monkey 或者whatever 咁樣啦。咁所以種種嘅一啲嘅少少嘅經歷啦，我會覺得係真係一個跨代運。呢個就咁啱用棒球咯，但係佢可以唔係棒球，可以係其他形式，可能係 art， 可以係其他運動。但係我想強調就係多啲一啲團體合作性啦，同埋真係睇到長者嘅價值。尤其係長者做一個好好嘅聆聽者，一個俾 recognition 讚賞嘅角色咧，我覺得係只有佢哋先可以做到。尤其喺而家呢個 AI 世代，我哋覺得好似好豐裕，好似咩知識都有嘅時候，但係往往好似頭先咁多位嘉賓講，我哋反而嗰個人與人之間嗰個溝通、嗰個聆聽啊、嗰個傾偈嗰個嘢，反而就缺失咗嘅。咁呢個位，我覺得跨代運動可以跨代嘅活動可以去補充得到咯。Thank you。
好多謝香文。我哋跟住咧就係我哋幾個互動啊。我想第一個問一問先。香文我哋有邊一個識得退咗休嘅訓導老師應該介紹俾阿香文？咁好啦。第二樣嘢，點解你咁了解長者嘅？你個背景係乜嘢，使到你對長者，你發掘好多長者嘅優美之處？
好咁都係同我細個嘅經歷有關啦。因為所以其實我細個都係婆婆同埋嫲嫲去湊大啦，因為爸爸媽媽都要拼搏去工作揾錢啦。咁所以你即係在座有老人家湊孫嘅經驗都知道咧，一定係金菠蘿咁樣錫啦。咁所以我同老人家嘅關係好好。咁所以大個之後就好想將呢個我哋嗰個 祖孫情咧，都好想透過一啲嘅服務咧，可以擴展去俾其他。咁事實上我而家都做咗人爸爸啦，咁我有個4歲嘅女啦，咁其實每一日都係見到好多都係公公婆婆湊住個孫去翻學咧，咁其實我會覺得其實呢一個祖孫嘅情誼其實係一路延續落去咁樣。
我哋我哋幾個嘉賓，即係我哋一齊點樣去互動啊？跟住我哋就最後就睇下台下有冇問題，好唔好啊？我哋而家有10分鐘到。
係咯，其實都經歷都幾似嘅，我都係細個都係嫲嫲湊嘅，係啦湊大咁樣。呢一個經歷咧，其實真係俾到我點解都會嚟緊學校都會繼續去推行嗰個義工服務。咁其實咧推義工服務咧唔單止係自己學校啊，咁因為我哋學校嘅位置比較特別係沙田區，咁沙田區嘅救世軍咧其實係最多嗰啲社福服務嘅機構。咁就尋日先開完會，就講緊我點樣將呢個沙田區嘅社福嘅機構同埋我學校同埋幼兒嘅學校係成為一個生態圈，去當佢可能係喺學校，可能要去遊學團，即係爸爸可能要跟住去嘅，舉例係咁。屋企個老人家冇人照顧，可能即係咁可以點搞咧？咁其實就可以，其實一個生態圈嘅環境就可能救世軍嘅一啲長者服務中心就可能有啲學館啊，或者係咁樣嘅服務。咁呢一啲就係嚟緊，我覺得學校反而係要睇下社區有咩資源咧，慢慢擴散開去咧，令到去 support 翻我哋家長嘅需要。因為我深信咧，有一個健康嘅家庭嘅環境咧，小朋友先可以健康成長。如果太多問題咧，就未必會成長咯。咁咪 echo 翻少少啦。我爸爸都係一個退休嘅訓導主任嚟，我可以介紹俾你識，
即刻多個人
係啦，即係就係咁巧咯。所以我一陣會介紹俾 Herman 識噶啦。咁但係
好啊，我其實頭先聽咗我哋幾位嘅分享咧，我哋都係好似好重視嗰個人同人之間嘅 connections 啊。咁我諗即係今日我哋嘅 Symposium 嗰個主題都係講緊 AI 年代，即係 AI 年代其實有時我哋都會有一啲擔心係，當我哋太依賴即係嗰個 digital gadget 嘅時候，其實就係少咗一啲機會同人聯繫。其實而家我諗大家都會睇得到，即係年輕人都真係擺好多時間喺嗰度咯。所以我都會覺得，如果我哋未來更加多去用我哋嘅創造力 creativity 去諗一啲唔同呢一啲嘅聯繫，其實為年輕人係好重要。當我哋講緊 artificial intelligence 係咁重要嘅時候，其實反而喺學校反而係幫年輕人去建立翻嗰個 human intelligence。咁我諗就係透過我哋頭先講呢啲唔同嘅活動，就係幫到細路仔咯。咁希望呢個都真係我哋可以一齊學校啦，或者係社福界一齊更加多嘅努力。
雖然見到夠鐘啊，但我想講多一句就係話咧 ，AI 嘅年代咧係會令到人嘅耐性係會少咗好多。我自己都感同身受，因為你將樣嘢好快，搞到我其實即係而家都有少少其實提醒自己要耐心聽老師講，因為老師都有唔同嘅年齡層嘅，有啲嘅語速好嘛，咁慢慢同你講，但係其實你好多嘢做，咁所以咧，其實我哋都要從小訓練翻小朋友喺個咁急速嘅香港社會咧，佢點樣去聆聽我哋嘅長者嘅説話咧？咁呢個都要，其實老人家有陣時好簡單嘅就係你同佢傾下偈，聽佢講，但係我哋正正就缺乏耐心聆聽呢一個嘅，我唔知叫心態啊，定話叫技能已經可能冇咗能力嚟㗎，係啦，咁所以係啦，分享多咗啦，多謝晒。
都絕對明白嘅，不過我又覺得 Stephanie 你間學校都好，因為咧其實 AI 就係一定存在㗎，咁但係你亦都係用請啲即係學生咧用點樣去 develop 啲 AI 啲 apps 啊，即係嗱當然啦，佢哋對呢方面有興趣，咁你咪用佢對呢方面嘅興趣 develop 啲 AI 嘅 apps， 但係幫佢點樣去 reach out 去啲老人家嗰度咯，係咪？即係用呢一個好明顯佢就有興趣，就利用佢呢個興趣而使到佢達到去建立到同老人家之間嗰個嘅互相嘅了解。喺用呢個嘅佢聽到你講咧，即係佢 develop 個 AI 個 apps 啦，但係點樣更加係完善呢個 AI 咧？點樣改善呢個 apps 咧？就係佢去了解老人家，或者有啲咩可以改善嘅地方，就利用呢一個嘅同佢之間嘅溝通，使到佢有耐性嘅，佢即係去聆聽嘅，去溝通嘅，而係 然後透過呢個 AI 嘅 Apps 就達到呢一啲咁樣目的嘅。咁即係都係用佢 AI as a tool，但係 AI 就唔可能代替咗人與人之間嗰個嘅即係維持嘅關係咁樣。咁啊 ，time up 啊？哦，我都唔知道，我好快脆啊！就好嘅，咁我哋睇下台下有冇一個問題？哎呀 ，OK， 好似我哋都唔想走啊，係咪？
我好快啊，因為其實頭先話講係一啲嘅 intergenerational 嘅 contest 或者係合作咧，都係好多嘅經驗都係會講翻係由幼稚園啊、小學啊一路上。咁當然非常重要，因為研究顯示咧，如果啲小朋友係能夠越早喺幼童嘅時候有機會接觸長者咧，其實佢對長者嗰個嘅 bias 咧係會改善好多嘅。咁但係咧，我都想講下咧，就其實如果我哋講係學校同係長者嘅接觸咧，我覺得大學同埋大專咧都係一個好重要嘅途徑，因為而家係香港差唔多係有50%至60%嗰啲嘅適齡嘅後生仔都可以讀大學或者大專啦。咁我自己以前喺城市大學嘅時候咧，都搞過一個課程咧，係要求我啲學生咧係我將佢 pair up 2-3個學生咧，就見一個老人家，個老人家係由老人院或者老人中心嚟嘅。咁幾個 principal 嘅，佢哋有 regular contact 最少3次，去嗰度探佢哋。要事先 train up 我啲學生，因為佢哋唔係好識同老人家相處，佢哋要共同做啲嘢。佢於是佢哋係我嗰時要佢做嘅交功課係要佢做一個生命故事冊，但係可以係 AI， 可以係一啲 creative arts， 有人係整咗啲 board game， 有人整咗圖，咁佢哋一齊去做呢樣嘢咧。我覺得係 win-win， 因為老人家咧好開心，有人幫佢做咗一個佢嘅人生記錄。對學生，對我啲學生係有讀 law 嘅，有讀 business 嘅，乜嘢課程 architect 都有。佢哋對老人家，我喺之前問佢哋問卷同之後問佢問卷，佢哋對老人家嗰個嘅接受能力同埋溝通咧，佢自己嘅溝通能力都有好大改善。所以我希望在座咧，當你哋講係 intergenerational 嘅時候咧，都唔好忘記我哋大專嗰班同學，其實佢哋都好 lonely， 佢哋都好需要人去聆聽，但係亦都有好多好好嘅方法係可以 engage 佢哋係 intergenerational speaking。唔該晒。
好，唔該晒。咁其實即係話咧，我哋應該由小學又做，中學又做，大學又做。當我哋由小開始做嘅時候咧，可能中學都唔需要做啦，大學更加唔需要做啦。即係 Polly 咧，下次咧就係做埋一個中學嘅一個 panel 啊，大學一個 panel， 我哋再講埋大學點樣可以一個 intergeneration 喺度。OK， 咁我哋多謝各位出席我哋呢一個嘅 second panel， 多謝3位 speakers。
好，喺佢哋合照嘅同時咧，多謝晒咁多位，我就繼續介紹我哋進入第3部分，亦都係最後一個小組嘅討論嘅主題係從給予到成長，強化慈善社群，共塑香港未來。多謝晒咁多位，我哋好高興邀請到亞洲慈善服務嘅共同創辦人楊善妮女士為我哋主持呢個環節。有請楊女士，跟住落嚟呢，亦都有3位嘉賓：澤善基金會行政總監蘇梅玲女士，香港俱樂部基金會總監李以東女士，同埋騰訊基金會計劃主任鄭秀玲女士。多謝咁多。
So, hello everyone. I'm Nancy Yang from Asian Charity Services. And I know that our third panel is going to be the most exciting panel, but it's also the panel in between here and lunch. So I say, but please stick around. This will be really exciting. And the reason why I think is because we've been inspired and educated from this morning, from the academic sector, from the NGO leaders, from the policymakers, but not the most valuable, but an extremely valuable perspective we need is from the funders. Do we agree? Right? So I'm really grateful that Mighty Oaks Holy has assembled this incredible panel of funders who are really leading edge, really authentic in their sharing and also in their leadership of investing in intergenerational programming. So in the interest of time, I'll cut short my intro because I think this is where you want to really hear from. If I maybe I'll just kick off even right away again because we have lunch in half an hour. Maybe if we could have, starting with Irene, if you could just share a little bit about Zasan, the foundation, and also your experience and your approach to funding intergenerational programming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. So I'm serving in the Sun Foundation, which is a local family foundation set up for more than 20 years. So we have a number of thematic focuses, including aging well, environment, primary health care, global groups, and sector building. So we have quite a number of core values cutting across all our projects. So including empowerment, collaboration, and participation. So the project that I'm going to share on behalf of my team is also related to these three core values. So it is called General Infusion in Education Program, which actually echoed what Alice John's sharing a while ago. It was started in 2018 with Poly U and Hong Kong U. So I understand in those days, it was the very first attempts, I think maybe in the worldwide academic circle, the first pilots to infuse gerontology concepts in a very diverse range of disciplines in tertiary institutions, which also was built in evidence-based evaluation. So it lasts for 3 years. And maybe we also played a short video that while you're watching the screen, you'll have a glimpse of the diverse range of disciplines, the faculty members, and also their students that were highly engaged in those days. Sorry, we just stole the video from the partner, so you see some unnecessary acknowledgement, but please focus on the images and photos. So from the photos, you can visualize actually a number of different faculty members. So in those 3-year engagement, actually 7 faculties from Poly U, 4 faculties from Hong Kong U, with more than 643 students actually were engaged. So the infusion, how the interventions were designed, actually through the perception change workshops and also integrate with the actual teaching sessions. So it really quite flexibly executed, depending on the teacher's own innovation and also with the direct contact with different older adults actually mobilized by the IAA of Poly U as well. So the reason why I mentioned about this very old project, which already ended in 2021, because actually it is the very first foundation for our team's own learning. Still the same concept, that the concept was extended after 2021. Right now, actually, we extended and applied in 16 secondary schools. So this second project actually was another collaboration between Poly U and Baptist University, because Baptist University also mobilized their future teachers, which means the to-be teachers still studying at the education faculty. So we would like to test another approach, see whether if the same education infusion approach that can have the same effect in younger students and also with the secondary school teachers. But there are a lot of challenges that I think I may share a little bit more. So at last, I would like to close my presentation. We often talk about academic outcome evaluation. But for this very old project, the most powerful evidence actually was a thank you letter that we just received a few months ago. So from a professor who was participating in the program more than, I think, 4 years ago. So he said thank you because he said, oh, thank you for your funding for this workshop, because I clearly remember how my own perception changed. Right now, as a teacher in the medical school of Hong Kong U, he used the photo elicitation techniques to really dig out the biases of students towards ageism. So that's how the teacher would like to add on the lens of elder care in the medical profession, which traditionally you would not see the relevancy, right, in our social service sector. So I think this is really the most powerful evidence, in addition to the academic support, of course.
Thank you, Irene. I think I was also struck when you shared with me that it was an early project, but it's a very ambitious project, if I may say. It's at multiple universities, different levels. You're trying to create an age, maybe friendly academic environment, working with professors, which may or may not be easy to do, working with secondary schools. And in addition to that, you have the youth and the elderly. So bravo. Yeah, that's very exciting. All right, next.
Thank you, Nancy. I'm Nadine Morale. I am a board director of the Hong Kong Club Foundation. And we are relatively new. We have other board members here today. We are 10 years old, and how our journey with intergenerational programming started was actually Po Lee. She approached us with Mighty Oaks ACE Academy programs, and that actually was the start of our journey that seeded our I suppose our creativity and our courage to fund intergenerational programs. Because we're relatively small, we adopt a sort of venture capital model in funding NGOs, NGO partners, impact organizations, and we have two pillars which are relevant to intergenerational programs. We fund marginalized youth and also elderly. So intergenerational programs actually fitted 2 out of 3 of our pillars, and to us that created double the impact that we could reach. And since then, we have partnered with other NGO partners such as Hands on Hong Kong, who are also here today. And our role, we love cross-sector collaboration, and so we love NGOs using their expertise in training and programming to create even higher impact programs for communities in Hong Kong. And so I'll as we discuss more, I'll go into more of the details. But yeah, that is what we do.
Thank you, Nadine. I think I can see a common thread is actually intergenerational it's not a thematic area for either of your foundations, but it's actually integration of multiple disciplines. So I would really encourage the NGOs out there. Sometimes you think, oh, I'm youth, it's going to expend so much energy to include the elderly, or vice versa. But actually, if we really want to have a systems lens and really address kind of root causes, then to actually develop new programs at the intersection of some of these, as you said, marginalized groups or elderly or youth. It's really at that integration point. So great. And then Rachel.
Hi all, I'm Rachel from Tencent Foundation. So thank you again to Mighty Oaks for inviting us and to share to all of you guys more about Tencent Foundation. Yeah, so actually Tencent Foundation, our main focus is called Youth Tech for Good. So in March this year, we launched a new education initiative named Tencent Meets Tech Academy. And for us, our focus will be tech and for good both, as the Tencent's vision and mission is called Value for Users, Tech for Good. So tech only will be meaningful when it's creating a human-centered product and also is making a positive impact to society. So for the program that we started is called Sim for Good. So we will encourage the youth to have to learn more about tech, and meanwhile they will also have to think about how to use the tech to create something useful to the community, to the society. And elderly care is one of the 4 good topics that we focus on. Yeah, so we find out that throughout the whole program, actually, youth can not only learn about tech, they also understand more about the elderly lifestyle, and also they will embrace the difference, and also this will further improve the intergenerational relationship between the younger generation and also the elderlies. And I think like just now from Principal Dr. Ho, like also share about the Geron Tech expo they had in their school. Actually, for elderly, they not only, like, they're positioning not only as a passive recipient or maybe a user of a product. Actually, the elderly can input their own comments or their insights about the product, starting from the creation of the product. Because for youth, they have to have a conversation with the elderly to understand about their lifestyle, to find out their pain point, so that they can start designing the product. And throughout the whole product design process, they will also have to keep on consulting the elderly so that they can make sure that their product is something that is useful to the elderly. It's not that something that's only useful to the youth. Like, so they have to do this continuous conversation. So throughout the whole program, and it will let the youth really, they understand more of the elderly, and also the elderly, they feel like they are contributing to the design of the product as well. That's why we are think that this is one of the fun projects that we'd like to share with you guys today. Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel. I think that's a great example as well, because sometimes people think about the use of tech or AI in delivering social services is it makes the relationship colder, more distant. But in fact, this is a great example of bringing youth and elderly together to create warmer, more engaging relationship. Okay, so let's keep going then. Our next question would be, this all sounds wonderful. However, we know that intergenerational programming is not always easy. So if you could share a little bit, perhaps about some of the challenges that you had in either the grant making or in the actual program, but also maybe some of the positive outcomes or benefits that you felt made it worthwhile.
I think challenges are everywhere. Maybe I highlight a few major ones. For that particular program, I remember when we have regular meetings with different university teams and also colleagues, they often mention about the difficulties of recruiting more number of faculty champions. So you can see from the numbers that I quoted. So at Poly, we successfully recruited more teachers from 7 faculties. But at Hong Kong U, only 4 faculties. I'm not blaming the Hong Kong U team. I just say this really honestly because we did encounter quite a lot of inertia in terms of the professional barriers, if I can be frank. It is really professional barriers because it is like if you are a business teacher, you can imagine elder care is not really his or her domain knowledge or even KPI. So where the addition of this kind of lens, it doesn't really counter, right, at the job duties, right, something like this. So that's first things. Second thing is related to the first one. If the teachers are not so passionate or not, the critical mass is not huge enough, then the impact would be quite limited. But having said that, as what I close with my thank you letter story, I think the second challenge is the actual impact of this kind of education intervention often is latent, which means that unless we foundations have more resources to really track every single teacher and student and also the older adult who has engaged in the same program, otherwise it is hard to really document all the actual impact actually come not right after the project end, often years. For this particular medical professor's case, 4 years. This thank you letter didn't come right after the project end, but only 4 years later. So, and then the third one, it is more institutional. So you can see from what the government official shared this morning, and also you can also see from even the foundation, right? I know some big foundations internally, they have youth service team and the elderly service team. So if you have intergenerational support project, actually is a really happy problem because that these two teams may fight with each other, first point, or second, the direct result may be no one would like to take on because it is a hot issue to be discussed internally. So I think it is also related to the financing as well because of this institutional barrier.
Those are all fundamental challenges, right? The need to change mindsets that are ingrained, maybe more siloed. This is a youth project. This is an elderly project. And also, even as you said, that perhaps different professors or academics are not in that mindset for how are they rewarded for working in the integration point. And then also to scale, perhaps funders can't expect to scale intergenerational programming so quickly. We know that that's a consideration as well. But if not us as NGOs and as funders, if not us, somebody has to stand in that gap. Somebody has to go through these challenges. So we're glad the three of you have. So Nadine, could you share a little bit about maybe some of the challenges and some of the benefits?
Sure. I think that the main challenge that we see the NGOs we partner with face is the degree of hand-holding needed to carry out a longer term program for intergenerational programs. I think speakers this morning have already spoken to the benefits of establishing a longer term relationship between younger generations and older generations. And this actually needs a lot of back-end resources to achieve. It requires NGO staff members to train. Well, they themselves need to be trained. They need to train, the teachers who are carrying out these programs in schools. They need to train staff in elderly centers as well, how to, create safe spaces for these two generations to truly interact. So resources are needed are high. Impact, at Hong Kong Club Foundation, we always say we don't mind not achieving the numbers of like grand numbers of beneficiaries, but we want to do impactful work. So we want to do longer programs for the connected families with the seniors in terms of the number of months. So for example, we funded Hands-On Hong Kong Generation Connect program. Their program is actually for 5 months, and every single week, the staff in charge, multiple staff members have to call families to make sure that they achieve the KPI. So that's a lot of work. But we found that through this process, the benefits is because there's so much hand-holding involved, after the conclusion of a program, we found that families who are connected with the seniors, they themselves carry on this relationship for another, say, 5 months. So the average is like 10 months, and more than half of them continue with, reaching out to the connected families. So this is very encouraging. So more resources needed. We like to go deeper, but the outcome is once the connections have been done, actually they can carry on. The beneficiaries themselves carry on the work and the relationship.
Thank you, Nadine. That's very inspiring. I like as well when you talked about that Hong Kong Club Foundation takes a venture capital approach, right? So you're willing to put your philanthropic capital at risk. Because you see some.
So like to choose the winners.
Yeah, choose the winners. Yeah. But actually, and that the winners, as you said, is not always the numbers. It's not 5,000 students or 22,000 students. What I'm hearing as well, it's the impact. But if you're also developing those relationships, then that's also the social capital that's been developed between the elderly and the youth, within the volunteers or within the NGO staff, and that you continue to get rewards or return. So yes, but Hong Kong Club Foundation chooses the winners, which is fun. Okay, last, Rachel?
Yeah, just I think like the benefit is like mentioned by other speakers as well. Like it has a multiplier effect. Like it's like 1 plus 1 more than 2. In fact, when you put IG in your whole project design. Yeah, and also I think it also helps us to optimize the resource efficiency as well. And for the challenges, I think like because if you really want to achieve the 2 target mentioned just now, like intergenerational and also tech education, we need to draw different parties that are specialized in this topic. And so how to really facilitate the communication in between and also find a balance in between, I think that's one that being mentioned by Irene just now as well. Yeah, I think we share the same challenges as well. Yeah.
But fundamentally, just investing in intergenerational programming, it sounds like it's starting from a systems perspective. You can't just dabble and do it in an independent investment from an NGO perspective or from a funder perspective. Okay, I guess our last question would be, how can we tell all the change makers in the room here, how can we grow intergenerational from individual projects, ideas, to a whole movement to change Hong Kong?
I think there's a good topic for Q&A discussion probably later. To us, actually, it's really a difficult question. We are still exploring, to be honest, after 8 years. But I can see some opportunities, new opportunities coming up. For example, as what official highlighted this morning, I think the policy address really highlighted the importance. And I think it is the very first time I think the government has been talking for quite some time, and right now stated in the policy address quite clearly. And also, second thing is that in different universities and secondary schools, we see more and more efforts from the leadership to foster this kind of intergenerational interventions, which is beyond the mainstream curriculum. So the reason why our foundation like this project and program very much, we are still exploring from university, secondary schools. Right now, we move on to more community-based approach. So we think that it may be even better to bring this to a wider community. So not only happening in educational institutions, but what about in community-based hubs that ordinary people could come and go and gather in a more casual way. So we are exploring in Sheung Wan district, in Pok Fu Lam village. So we try to adopt the similar models in different districts and settings. So we see more and more stakeholders also quite interested. Unlike 8 years ago, it is hard for us to find a co-funder. So for the second phase, actually, we thank you very much, Lê Cẩm Kỳ Foundation. They really acknowledge the risk, but we are really aim higher. We would like to make some curriculum development change in the secondary schools, despite all the challenges at EDB engagement as well. But at least we try the pathway towards that. I think the colleague from Lê Cẩm Kỳ also nodding their head. I think we are really on the same boat, that we're still rolling, and we are waiting for the evaluation.
So for us, how to create a movement. So we're trialing with this collaboration between Hands on Hong Kong and Mighty Oaks. So we funded Generation Connect project 1.0 for 3 years. So we connected 240 families with 240 seniors or senior couples, and we loved the collaboration between 2 of our grantees so much, and we really saw the impact in terms of continuing communication on their own. So we're scaling up, and we're working with a pilot project that's Generation Connect 2.0. This time we are basically also taking a little bit of risk and doing more trust-based philanthropy. So what we are doing is we're providing capacity building philanthropy primarily to hands-on to bring up volunteer leaders in our community. So we want to bring up 20 volunteer leaders, and they will then start their own programs in their communities with the partners that Hands-On has identified. We are also working on the programming side, thanks to Mighty Oaks, for being the professional, giving the professional training for intergenerational communications and how to achieve bonding through evidence-based materials. And what we want to do is open source. So once all of the capacity building is done, and it's going to require at least 2 years to complete, we want to open source the sort of the program management side, and also the expertise and how to run these programs, and to share it with other NGOs, share it with the government, and also we have approached social welfare department to start the conversation. We're going to start this pilot project. We're going to build the capacity, build the know-how, collect all the expertise on how to actually achieve, and they are really interested. They said, okay, we see the impact that it can have, but I guess we need to prove it to them first. And so once we can prove it to them, they have said that, oh, let's see how we can scale it even to more districts. We're working with 4 to 5 districts right now, but can we scale it to the 41 district health centers in Hong Kong? So that's what we're piloting and working together as funders and NGO partners.
I see this thread, right? That it started as as I was going to say a seed, but maybe it's related to Mighty Oaks. But as an experimental project, as a pilot project, and now in this new phase, you're building on that. And this term kind of expanding your territory, whether to additional universities, whether to co-funding partners, whether to more districts. So that's very encouraging. Okay, Rachel?
What we're trying to do, just to let others know about the impact of such projects, such models, so that other schools will also can adapt a similar model after we have proven the impact. And meanwhile, for Tencent side, actually we also have open up some education resources for schools so that they can easily use it to educate their students, learn about tech, and meanwhile also use tech for good. Yeah, that's what we are currently doing.
I'm sorry that we have limited time, but I think Tencent is such a major source of innovation. I actually did a big study on the work of Tencent last year because I wrote an article on philanthropic trends, and just the leveraging the AI and even digital platforms to bring people together for good, and even your annual charity day in China, they can raise $400 million in one day. But not only that, what's most impressive is in micro kind of numbers, right? So if we can replicate that as it relates to youth and elderly, even in micro relationships or interactions, you can see the potential to scale for intergenerational using tech. That's really exciting. Okay. Well, I think I could go on for a long time. We could just learn a lot from these 3 foundations. But just wanted to say thanks, because I think even the little that we've heard today, we know that through the work of Tencent, through Hong Kong Club Foundation and Zesen, that everyone here in the audience today, whether we're funders or NGOs or government policymakers, we get to stand on your shoulders. And we get to go further because we're learning from you. So can we just maybe close in a round of applause?
多謝晒咁多位講者。喺佢哋影相嘅同時咧，我亦都而家講翻啦，我哋今日已經到咗我哋最後一個環節啦。喺佢哋影相嘅時候咧，我代表恩象基金會非常多謝各位今日參加咗，抽出咗寶貴嘅時間嚟參加咗呢個研討會啦。我哋嘅嘉賓分享咗好多個寶貴嘅經驗同埋見解，令到我哋了解到跨代合作唔淨止能夠促進社會嘅和諧，亦都能夠激發創造同埋創新同活力。最後一部分，我哋再一次邀請到恩象基金會創辦人陳寶莉女士為我哋致閉幕致辭。
Thank you for your presence and thank you for your engagement today. I'm so pleased to be seeing so many old and new friends. And don't you agree, we've had some great panels and a great keynote speaker. So thank you all. I have a question to ask. Do you share my sense of hope? Less social isolation, more emotionally intelligent youth, deeper human-centered connections, and a growing recognition that intergenerational practice isn't just nice to have. It's essential for social resilience. Please say yes. Now, I just want to close with 2 comments from the Chief Executive's policy address yesterday, which I think indirectly supports intergenerational engagement. First, the government has said that it will enhance the values education framework, encouraging integration of values education both into the curriculum as well as in extracurricular activities, instilling core values such as responsibility and perseverance and inclusiveness into our schools. Now, this is precisely where intergenerational programs can drive positive impact. So I was very pleased to hear that. The second is that John Lee announced the formation of a working group on aging society strategies to improve elderly well-being, including in the arts, recreation, and community engagement. Now, to me, this is a golden opportunity for us all to promote the benefits of intergenerational connections to this working group, enabling elders to become more engaged and purposeful through meaningful interaction with youth. So, as we close today's symposium, we invite you to continue this journey with us. The conversations sparked today are just the beginning. Your voice is vital. As mentioned earlier by Chi Mei, Mighty Oaks is committed to host an intergenerational symposium, such as the one today, for the next 2 years. Why? Because we think intergenerational practice is still under-recognized. Sustained momentum keeps it in the spotlight, influencing public discourse such as today and policy agendas. So let's together contribute to a larger vision of social inclusion, shared wisdom, and collective growth. So thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to welcoming you to here next year with new ideas, new collaborators, and renewed purpose. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Polly。再一次大家嚟臨到今日嘅研討會啦，咁我哋而家今日嘅節目咧就已經完結㗎啦。咁再一次多謝大家，希望大家喺今日呢個會議廳入邊學到嘅、聽到嘅，帶翻入你哋自己嘅社區。多謝晒。